when the surroundings went silent. He believed he had gotten away unexpectedly. A knife was pressed against his neck. Behind him stood a mysterious figure. The man attempted to bargain for his life by offering money, but the stranger coldly told him to die, and blood splattered quickly. The next morning, a high school student named Kai felt incredibly sleepy. Later at school, the students were chatting casually inside the room. His arrival caught the attention of everyone. The class president, Shuji, then greeted him politely, but Kai only gave a casual response. After that, he headed straight to his seat and fell asleep. But Shuji insisted Kai was still their classmate, and he also thought Kai was just tired. But she thinks it's still disrespectful. Just then another student arrived. So Rina's expression soured since she disliked him more. It was Shin, the leader of a delinquent gang. Meanwhile, the other students greeted him. Immediately after that, Shin noticed Kai sleeping nearby. Seeing this, he began calling out to him. When there was no response, he mocked Kai for sleeping so soundly and told him to listen. Still getting no reaction, he attempted to grab Kai, but Kai quickly caught his wrist. So Shin was surprised by the sudden movement. After Kai yawned, he asked what Shin wanted. Since he's sleepy, Shin then demanded that he let go of his hand. But to his frustration, he could not move at all. Noticing this, Kai eventually released him. But Shin was irritated and called him a big weirdo. At that moment, the most admired girl in the school named Rin. Shin cursed and accused her of trying to pick a fight. Before things escalated, another girl stepped in. It was Murray from the discipline committee. Reminded him his behavior wasn't acceptable. The playful student named Yoshi then told her to let it go, but she told him to be quiet too. Meanwhile, Kai had already gone back to sleep. Seeing this, Shin returned to his seat. Rin was satisfied with the restored peace. But Yoshi and Murray continued to bicker. And it's normal in class too. It was just another regular day in their classroom full of problems. But while Kai slept, he suddenly sensed a peculiar sensation. Moreover, he noticed it coming from Suji's feet. Soon a magic circle appeared on the floor without warning. Shuji looked confused by it, but he immediately tried to get everyone to evacuate. However, Kai already realized they would not make it. In time, suddenly, the magic circle collapsed in an instant. Moments later, the students found themselves inside a building. Upon arriving, Kai wondered where he was. Large pillars and a single visible exit. Hence he realized the magic circle had transported the entire class to an unknown place. Meanwhile, the other students woke up, confused by the unfamiliar surroundings. As they tried to understand, Renault wondered about the white light. But Shuji urged everyone to calm down and check if all were safe. However, Shin declared that they could not afford to waste time. So he decided to investigate and signal for his lackeys to follow. Noticing Shin's confusion, Kai explained he heard footsteps beyond the door. Shin glanced toward the entrance and was uncertain. But Kai already sensed a man and woman approaching and wondered if they could communicate. The door soon creaked open, revealing a man and a woman. The woman then praised how quickly the hero candidates calmed down, but the students were struck by her beauty, and some even thought they were cosplayers. However, Kai saw that the man is a seasoned swordsman, so this is not a cosplay. As for the woman, she had a toned build, but seemed calm and ordinary. Suddenly, the woman introduced herself as Luna, the Archbishop of Digorist, and the man is her knight, Gaius. But Shin had never heard of the place, so he assumed she was lying. But Luna said she wasn't joking. Though she understood, it seemed strange. Shuji then stepped up and explained that everyone was still on edge, so he asked if Luna knew what had happened to them. Luna confirmed that she did, which was why she had come to explain everything. But before explaining, she wanted them to grasp their situation. She said they were summoned to a doomed world as hero candidates, while Shin dismissed the story entirely. Gaius then demanded Shin respect Luna as their saint, but Shin told Gaius to shut up or he would kill him. Hearing this, Gaius decided it was time to teach Shin a lesson. Luna tried to stop him, but he insisted their arrogance needed breaking. Shin didn't hesitate and charged at him. Seeing this, Shin believed he could dodge and get in close. But before he could even react, Gaius swung his blade. Shin's forehead bled, as Gaius said he only cut a hair and wouldn't hold back. Witnessing this, the class stood frozen in shock. After that, Luna told Gaius to put away his sword, and he obeyed. She then apologized to the students and assured them they meant no harm. With that, she said, it was time to explain about this world, the reason they were summoned, and what was expected of them. But first she asked for silence. They lacked the power to stop it. Upon hearing this, Kai found the mention of a demon king somewhat common. Still, Luna continued stressing that the students were humanity's final hope. Hence, Shuji realized that they were expected to defeat the demon king. But Yoshi called it impossible, and Mary said she'd never fought before. She also added that some were terrified and just wanted to go home. Hearing this, the students were shocked. Observing this, Kai suspected that Gaius said it deliberately to motivate them. However, he knew peaceful students couldn't fight without both training and talent. Meanwhile, Shin was furious. They were summoned without consent. Now, they were being told to obey without question. So he shouted that those people were exactly who he despised. Hearing this, Gaius thought Shin's spirit could help in battle, but also be dangerous, deciding to act. Gaius reached for his sword to end him. However, Luna began chanting on Shin. Luna offered a sincere apology for their earlier behavior, but Rina was confused by the light coming from her hands. Luna explained it's called System of Power from their god Diggerist. That caused new abilities, but it was essentially what they call magic. Hearing this, Kai thinks she knew their culture. Raising her hand, she told the group that this was the reason they had all been summoned. Shuji then suddenly felt a surge of energy. Immediately, Rina pointed out that his hand had begun to glow. Moments later, the light formed into the shape of a sword. Luna explained, Shuji had awakened his divine protection through the system. Still, Luna reminded them there was no way back once summoned. With that, she humbly asked for their help. However, Shuji said they couldn't fight immediately, even with power in response. Luna agreed to support their training. Shuji then gathered everyone and stressed that survival required information and protection. Hence, divine protection could help in danger, and urged them to hear Luna out. Encouraged by his reasoning, Rin and the others voiced their agreement, grateful for their cooperation. Luna began granting them their divine protection. Mary was the first to receive hers, and it was telekinesis after her. Shin was granted the power of explosion. Soon the other students each received unique abilities. Once she was done, Luna asked if that was everyone. The moment she did, Kai noticed a strange shift in his vision. Suddenly a prompt appeared showing Luna's status. Luna then noted his eye color changed. Noticing his confusion, she explained it let him see detailed target info. Caden immediately tested it on himself. A glowing interface appeared and displayed his full status. He thought it looked like a game status screen, but was easy to read suddenly. Movement from the side caught his attention. Upon seeing it was Shin, he instinctively dodged. After blasting a hole in the floor, Shin asked Kai's opinion and demanded to know his power. Rina then mocked Kai by saying that's what he got for acting important. Hearing this, Kai questioned their arrogance, while still unsure which powers were useful. Moreover, these powers could vanish anytime, but Kai already had many ways to kill. Soon Luna said their powers would fight the Demon King, though hard to control at first. After making this clear, she encouraged everyone to get some rest. Immediately, he overheard guards complaining about patrolling due to the new summoned hero candidate, but the other replied they were just kids. From their conversation, he understood that the kingdom was reinforcing its defenses. Curious, he decided to test his ability using judgment. He checked a guard named Din and saw his only skill was swordsmanship. After knowing that no one can sense his ability, he slipped away as he ran. He recalled the city's defensive layout surrounding the castle. Eventually, he reached a guarded gate. After seeing the inner castle more guarded, he became curious, but with no rush. He left the exploration for another day. As he continued, he spotted Rina and two girls looking for an open area. The girl named Mina doubted the plan, but the blonde named Yumi said it was just ability practice. Rina also added she couldn't sleep and said training would help long term. The three girls then began to use their powers, but Kai stayed silently watching. curious about their divine protection. He kept observing. Suddenly, he sensed something unusual. As he turned, he questioned this weird sensation. Meanwhile, and also heard strange nearby noises. Hence the girls look around in confusion. Without warning, a large creature emerged. Seeing it, they were all shocked. Like them, Kai was surprised to see a lizard-like creature. After activating his judgment ability, he saw that the lizard stats far exceeded Rina's and the others. As it inhaled, it roared loudly at the girls. So, without hesitation, Caden noted its aggressive nature. Also, it moves quickly at straight line speed and lacks intelligence. However, its skin looks tough, so he's unsure if his blade would work. Still, he threw his knife. When a knife hit its skin, the lizard was confused, and it confirmed that throwing knives still worked. Meanwhile, the girls kept running until Rina tripped. Mina tried to help, but Yumi stopped her. Serena got up on her own while feeling hurt. But when she turned around, she found the lizard already in front of her. As she panicked, the lizard began to attack her. But when she braced for impact, nothing came looking up. But this made Rina ask who saved her. However, Yumi just simply told her to leave before more monsters appeared. Kai then felt relieved and admitted he had no reason to save them, but couldn't ignore it as he retrieved his knife. He knew life gear wouldn't be easy with monsters around. Suddenly sensing something, he quickly hid behind the lizard. After that, he watched a nearby stone. While looking at it, he wondered if someone was there and decided to leave. After he did, a mysterious figure stepped out. Following that, he crushed the lizard underfoot. The person then muttered how useless the hero candidates were. However, he noted that Kai smelled just like him. The next day, the lizard's corpse was shown invisibly. Disgusted, many students Geese then said, the monster was found near the royal capital the night before. Hearing this, Shuji and Shin both fell into deep thought, but several of their classmates began to show signs of fear. Suddenly Gaius said the Demon King made monsters crave human flesh and asked Ted for updates. Ted reported traces of sorcery from a demon above mid-grade, as he warned demons might be scouting the hero candidates. Kai listened silently hence. The mention of sorcery made him question if it was different from magic. Suddenly, Shuji asked if the monster had been under the control of a demon. Ted then confirmed. Powerful demons could control weaker monsters with servitude spells. As he began explaining the monster's origins, Gaius abruptly told him to stop. As Ted was taken out, Kai guessed he was a researcher, that he could ask for information. But for now, his attention returned to the monster that had indeed been controlled. Moreover, he had already seen it in the creature's status window the night before thus. He confirmed the presence he sensed earlier was a demon. More importantly, the demon hid so well after Kai barely sensed it, and it might still be near. Suddenly, Kai felt another gaze from afar. A voice then warned that fear leads to death. But Kai was startled instead when someone shouted they weren't afraid. Shin declared they had to kill the Demon King to return, and had no plans to stay hearing this. Rin agreed with Shin for the first time ever. Shuji also agreed by saying fighting was their only way home. Still, many students trembled at the thought of facing such monsters. Kai saw they now understood that fighting meant real danger and death. Suddenly, Luna arrived and told them not to fear. She explained, they struggled because they lacked training in using their powers as summoned hero candidates. She assured them they would surpass the natives in growth, and so a week passed since they started training. During this time, Kai learned the local language, but found it weird that they communicate easily. Setting that aside, and Moise drew his attention to the window outside. The other students were actively training on the field. Watching them, Kai remembered he was sent to the library instead of combat training, due to his ability. This decision was directed by Luna and made others laugh at him. Regardless, he read everything, but found no information on demons. Later, while watching the students, he saw Luna was right that their growth was astonishing. Among them, the 5 who stood out most were Yoshi Shin, Rin Murray, and Rina. At that moment, a sword suddenly flew and struck the ground, and commented that he's already stronger than him. But Shuji said it was thanks to their guidance. Hearing this, Kai then used his ability on Shuji. Just a week ago, they were D and F rank, but most had improved fast. This showed divine protection boosted more than power. as he thought of the Shin's group suddenly arrived. Upon seeing Kai, they asked why he was at the training grounds instead of reading. Some still looked down on him, and they grew more arrogant after gaining power. The guy named Muda then moved toward him. After not responding, however, Kai effortlessly swept him off balance. After knocking him down, Kai asked why he fell for no reason. Seeing this, they were also taken aback. Before it escalated, Shin told them to stop since someone was coming. Soon Luna arrived with Gaius at her side. As she passed, the students stopped and looked at her. In response, Luna thanked them. Yoshi assumed they would face the Demon King immediately, but she clarified it was not. Instead, she simply wanted them to practice fighting monsters. Hearing this, the girls and boys were clearly surprised, especially Kai, who also looked nervous. Before the combat drill, Gaius explained they were in a forest. Hence, obstacles will keep them from moving freely as one group. As a result, the students were instructed to form smaller teams of 2 to 3 members. Rina then quickly formed a team with Shuji and Yumi at the same time. Shin ended up with his usual group, who said they'd be fine as Gaius checked the teams. He noticed Kai and Rin standing alone. In response, Rin said no one wanted to team up with her, knowing it was out of fear. So she asked Kai if he was fine teaming up with her, and he agreed, watching her. But Rin suddenly glanced at him and asked why he was staring. So he said it was nothing. After hearing this, she turned her attention elsewhere. Afterwards, Luna announced a reward for the team with the most kills and started the drill later. In response, Kai agreed to let her handle everything, but this made her remark that he had no pride. However, Kai had already decided to observe her combat abilities first. Furthermore, he had already sensed 4 presences nearby. Soon a goblin appeared. Upon seeing it, Rin immediately identified it as a monster. So as a charge, she used her ability to force it to bow. Hence, the goblin instantly obeyed. Watching this, Kai realized her power was domination that forced others to obey. With that, he pointed out that more monsters were nearby. So Rin ordered the goblin to discard its weapon and place its hands behind its back. But Kai noticed she looked tired, and she admitted using her ability too long drains her, realizing it used much mana. He told her to eliminate the goblin as another approached, but she hesitated because the monster looked somewhat human. Kai then reminded her it had attacked them, and there was no reason to spare an enemy. Hearing this, she acknowledged his point, but as Kai picked up a rock, he thought Rin was strong, but still too naive regardless of that. What mattered was whether Rin could decide correctly in danger. Soon the remaining 3 goblins appeared and began approaching. Kai then quickly alerted Rin, who responded that she was already aware. Without hesitation, she ordered the goblins to bow down. Suddenly, Kai asked her next move, and she told him to help despite her earlier claim. Realizing this, she decided to eliminate the goblins on her own. If that. She commanded them to twist their own necks. The goblins then began to carry out the order, which shocked Rin. Observing this, Kai asked if she could give extreme commands, and Rin said yes, but with lower success. Despite this, she finally realized real combat was far from what she imagined. But Kai reminded her the enemies attacked them, and killing was necessary to survive. Hearing this, Rin wondered how Kai stayed calm despite having no powers. Setting that aside, he then asked if they should move on or return. If she was scared, after glancing at the corpse, Rin declared that they should keep going, though Kai saw she was just pretending. She seems to be worth fighting with. Meanwhile, Yoshi and Murray were running while figuring out what to do. As they realized the monsters weren't weak regardless, they refused to back down. So Yoshi unleashed a wind blast, while Murray followed up with a rock bullet. Using their combined attack, it landed directly into the monster. However, the monster remained unscathed. Seeing this, Yoshi grew anxious and questioned what kind of creature they were dealing with. Meanwhile, Rin thought about going home immediately to repay her grandfather. Besides, she figured he must be feeling very sad now. Suddenly, Kai warned they might get lost, but she said walking straight would prevent it. But this made him think she underestimated the forest, as she told him to be quiet, so she simply brushed it off. Suddenly, a scream echoed through the forest. Rin immediately recognized Marie's voice. while Kai guessed she was in danger and asked Rin's plan. But Rin asked what he meant and urged him to hurry. At that moment, Mary was badly injured. Seeing this, Yoshi quickly asked if she was all right. Mary replied that she was fine and told him to run, but he refused to leave her behind. So when he turned around, he saw the monster about to strike. Just then, Rin's voice rang out, commanding the creature to stop. Seeing it was Rin, Yoshi thanked her, but she warned she couldn't hold it long. Yoshi explained that she was in pain, but still breathing. Hence, Kai instructed him to carry her and leave. But Yoshi hesitated and wanted to help. However, Kai asked him if he intended to let Mary continue suffering. He agreed and was told to call for help if he saw Shuji or Luna. After that, Kai turned to face the monster. Without delay, he activated his judgment ability. There he saw the armored bear's status and noted its high defense. Moreover, its fur appeared incredibly tough, so he doubted that his attacks could cause damage. Furthermore, the mutant species labeled intrigued him. Suddenly, Rin shouted that she could no longer hold it off. As a result, the bear was released. Despite that, Kai said she bought Yoshi time and suggested they retreat. Too, though surprised. Rin agreed, however. She suddenly collapses and is unable to move her legs. As the bear approached, Kai realized the situation was about to turn worse, so he quickly pulled out smoke grenades. Using the smoke, it separated Rin from the bear. When Rin opened her eyes, she saw Kai's face moreover. He was carrying her, so she was confused. However, Kai told her to stay quiet or the bear might hear them. Rin asked about the smoke. Earlier, he claimed it was just a smoke bomb from training, though it wasn't true in reality. He actually had basic assassin gear before being summoned, but used it only when needed. Suddenly, Rin apologized, which left him puzzled. She said she wanted to help others, but needed it herself. But Kai said he'd still listen to her, but she quickly denied it. With that, he instructed her to stay quiet once more. Setting that aside, Rin asked his next move and suggested running, but Kai said it wasn't needed. Meanwhile, the bear continued searching for them until its attention was caught by a new presence. It turned out to be Shuji's group, who had come to confront the beast for attacking their ally. Without hesitation, Shuji activated his evil crushing sword. With this, he faced the monster head-on. Shuji immediately charged toward the bear. When the bear also attacked, he dodged swiftly and tightened his grip on his sword. He then swung it and struck the bear's arm. But he quickly realized how tough its body was. Seeing this, Renault shouted for him to move to not get burned. After that, she unleashed a wave of fire at the bear. As the flames engulfed it, Renee mockingly asked if the beast could endure the heat. Watching this, Shuji praised her. But the bear suddenly began to rise again and was visibly enraged. Reno was shocked by this, but Shuji urged her to stay calm. He noted that her attack worked as the bear moved slower. Knowing this, he called on the girls to finish it off together, and they quickly agreed as the battle continued. An assassinated demon named Delphi's watched from a distance. He thought it was only a matter of time. Now seeing their growth and calm, he felt the bear had no chance, abandoning the scouting mission. Meanwhile, Shuji landed another powerful blow. With this, he dealt significant damage to the bear. He then moved to finish it. But Delphi's aimed to teach him a fatal lesson. He recalled the greatest mistake one could make in this world. While they celebrated, he recalled the mistake of assuming an enemy was dead. Unexpectedly, Delphis was stopped. He froze upon feeling a blade at his neck. Startled, he asked Kai when he had gotten behind him. Kai replied his parents taught him. The biggest mistake is thinking you've won too soon. At that, Delphis dropped his weapon and raised his hands in surrender. He wondered how Kai got behind him still. What mattered now was escaping. But before he could act, Kai struck his legs, causing him to collapse immediately. Kai then told him to stay quiet so the others wouldn't notice. He also demanded answers, but Delphis refused and asked who he was. So Kai replied he was someone from the shadows, from another world, which left Delphis stunned. Gritting his teeth, Delphis suspected Kai was behind the strange presence he sensed earlier. Kai then said he knew they were being watched and used Shuji to lure Delphis out. Realizing this, Delphis knew Kai had seen through it all from the start. Ignoring him, Kai demanded information about the demons. When Delphis refused, Kai struck him without warning. Still, Delphis refused to be looked down on. In desperation, he bit down on something hidden. Kai tried to stop him, but it was too late. Blood poured from Delphi's mouth, and his eyes turned white. Seeing this, Kai did not expect Delphi's to have poison with him. Nevertheless, he realized the Demon King's army was stronger and prepared. Suddenly, a status window appeared beside him. Out of nowhere, someone called his name. It was Rin, and she quickly asked if the man was dead. Hence, Kai looked at her with a serious expression. Noticing her staring at the corpse, he asked how long she had been watching. Rin admitted she'd been there since the man collapsed. Hearing this, Kai said the man was a Demon King's assassin. He added that the bear they fought was controlled by the demon. Additionally, the lizard that attacked Rina and the others was also his doing. Upon hearing this, Rin asked if the demons were trying to kill them. Kai confirmed the demons were after them, making Rin realize her naivety. However, she wondered how he noticed the assassin when no one else did. Seeing no reason to hide it, Kai revealed his family were assassins, and he recognized the demon by scent. Learning this, Rin was visibly surprised. So Kai said she could believe him or not, but the corpse before them was real, which left her even more alarmed. Regardless, he warned her not to tell anyone what she had seen, as the class was already shaken because of Murray's condition. But she found him surprisingly kind to care about their classmates. In response, Kai said they weren't like him, who was used to fighting after that. He looked at Rin and thought her domination ability could be useful later. Soon the class gathered around Murray. A student named Hanno used her healing ability on her. As she cast the spell, Mary's wounds began to fade. Witnessing this, the others were astonished. Meanwhile, Yoshi asked if Mary would be fine, and she said she'd recover in an hour. Hearing this, Yoshi felt relieved and praised Shuji for defeating the powerful bear. Kai sensed someone staring, so he asked Rin why she was staring, but she refused to explain. But Suji turned to face her with some hesitation. So Yoshi asked Luna and Gaius where they had been the whole time, prompting Yoshi to ask why he hadn't helped. Gaius replied that it wouldn't be good practice if he rescued them every time. But Shuji protested, pointing out that Murray had nearly died, that risking their lives was a natural part of military drills. He also said this was the battle ahead, and told them to stop complaining, leaving them stunned still. Shuji argued that Gaius claimed only weak monsters were nearby. In response, Luna said the demon assassin must have caused the attack. This left the others confused. So she explained armored bears weren't native here, and suggested the demon was scouting their combat skills. Understanding this, Gaius said the demon assassin might still be nearby, and Luna urged stronger defenses. She also said training would intensify, since they wouldn't survive at their current level. But the students could hardly believe what they were hearing. Some thought their training was already too harsh, and began to wonder if they were going to be killed. Shuji then stepped up and argued it was unfair to push them harder after their first real battle. Luna then replied it may seem unfair, but their lives depended on improving. And this response took Shuji by surprise. Meanwhile, Shin asked why they obeyed orders after being summoned unwillingly. As he moved toward Luna, Hayes stepped in to block him. The yes then declared they were pawns under Luna and must never disobey. Obviously, the statement shocked everyone. Furious Shin ready to fight. But Shuji stepped in and told him to calm down. However, this made Shin question Shuji's composed attitude, and they couldn't win that way. Glad by his understanding, Gaius assured them no harm would come to such important pawns. Still, this idea sounded absurd to Shin, so he continued to attack. Before Gaius could respond, Shin unleashed his destructive blast. As a result, a massive explosion occurred. As the smoke began to clear, Shin called Gaius pathetic. But to his surprise, Gaius emerged from the smoke unscathed. Before Shin could react, Gaius struck him in the face. As a result, he was sent flying into the ground and leaving him barely conscious. Despite their shock, Gaius reminded them of the power gap. Immediately, the other students rushed to help Shin. But Shin was only determined to kill Gaius next time. The day after the military drills, the monster researcher Ted was assigned to oversee training. Before starting, he asked if those injured the day before had recovered. Mary quickly responded that she was fine after being healed by Hanno. She also pointed out that Shin had been healed as well. Hearing this, Ted was glad someone had a healing ability. He then explained the training and brought them to his facility to fight monsters. Hearing this, Shuji asked if that meant there were monsters inside the building. Ted didn't confirm directly, but instead chose to show them. Inside the facility, goblins, a lizardville, and an ogre were kept in captivity. That Ted's laboratory was the ideal location to train their soldiers. So Ted was pleased as the training would give him useful combat data. Meanwhile, Shuji and the others felt nervous still. The drills began with Rina going first. From a distance, Kai was surprised by their composure and assumed yesterday's battle was effective. Still, he guessed they were still a little afraid. Meanwhile, Rina was knocked to the ground. Though injured, she immediately stood back up as the ogre prepared to attack again. Shuji informed Ted it was too strong for her. Besides, he thinks Shuji is a little mistaken. So he said as hero candidates, their divine protections should easily handle monsters like that. Annoyed, Renee began to unleash her full power as flames engulfed the ogre. Ted said willpower was the most important thing in battle. Moreover, the task wasn't hard, but their fear and hesitation made it seem so. Hearing this, Shuji wondered if willpower alone truly made that much difference. Ted then confirmed that it could also help unlock new divine abilities. Suddenly, Kai approached Shuji. Kai then informed him that based on his judgment ability, Shuji had awakened a new skill. As Kai said, Shuji had indeed gained a new ability called Monster Kamikaze. Knowing this, Shuji asked Ted if he could test it out, and Ted agreed with that. Shuji stepped forward to face the ogre next. Immediately, he activated both Evil Crushing Sword and Monster Kamikaze. With confidence, he asked the ogre if it was scared. However, he refused to show mercy and charged straight at it. Seeing Shuji's sword, the ogre tried to block it with its arm. However, Shuji's blade swiftly severed its hand. As the monster screamed in pain, Shuji followed up with another strike. As a result, the ogre was beheaded. Witnessing this, the students erupted into cheers. Meanwhile, Kai thought Shuji could now handle armored bears, and wondered if his own ability had evolved too curious. He checked the other status and saw Shin had gained a new ability, which is called Landmine. Despite this, he chose not to tell Shin, but after realizing abilities could grow, Kai knew he had to improve too. Later that night, Shin gathered with the other students. If Luna was gone, encouraged, Shin invited Yoshi to join by saying he must be tired of their treatment. But Yoshi asked if they could win, and he said their chances were better with him. Still, Yoshi thinks that killing someone was wrong, even if it meant returning home. However, he remembered what had happened to Murray during the battle. In the end, he agreed to join them. The next day, the class continued their training. Among them, Shuichi stood out. Watching him, Kai couldn't help but comment on how hard he was working. But Shuji said he still felt weak and had to grow stronger still. Kai thought Shuji was strong enough to beat most knights, but Shuji disagreed, saying he needed more strength to beat Gaius and protect everyone. After hearing this, Kai asked what he thought about Luna and Gaius. Shuji replied that he believed they were just pawns, but would be safe if they obeyed. Hearing this, Kai asked if he was ready to fight and risk his life until the Demon King fell. With determination, Shuji confirmed that he had made up his mind, but he felt it was his duty to defeat the Demon King and become this country's hero. With this in mind, he planned to fight for the other's safety, but Kai doubted Luna would agree. In response, Shuji said if she refused, he'd convince her with his sword. Suddenly, a voice praised them for their dedication. When they turned around, they saw Luna and Gaius approaching. Ted immediately greeted Luna with enthusiasm. In response, Luna tasked him to lead the others while she and Gaius were away, and Ted agreed. Hearing this, Rina asked if they were going somewhere. Luna confirmed they'd be gone for days, so she asked Ted to watch over them. After saying this, she quickly excused herself. As they walked away, a slight smile appeared on Ted's face. Later on their way, Gaius asked Luna if her plan was truly the right one. Luna responded by asking what made him question it. Gaius told her to stop pretending, saying she knew Shin was plotting. Luna admitted that it was probably a rebellion against them, knowing that he asked what she intended to do about it. Luna said she'd leave them for now, since she's curious how far they'd go. Still, Gaius reminded her The hero candidates had enough power to challenge them. However, she believed that would never happen, as they would never be able to defeat her. Gaia reluctantly agreed, and she emphasized it was the perfect chance to establish a hierarchy. With that, they would crush the rebellion and shatter their fangs for good. Besides, she noticed other suspicious acts, but chose to ignore them for now. Later that night, Kai was being chased by a monster. Without hesitation, he pulled out a knife and hurled it into the monster's head. After killing it, he used his ability to confirm. It took 13 seconds to beat a monster of that level. As he checked his status, he figured he leveled up after killing the demon, but wasn't sure how to use his new power. Suddenly he sensed something behind him. An ogre appeared and was about to strike, but the ogre's punch hit the debris nearby instead, still surprised by its sudden appearance. Kai quickly reacted as the ogre launched another attack. He drew multiple knives and threw them at it. But to his shock, none of them pierced the ogre's skin. Realizing this, he decided to test his new skill. After activating weak point detection, a glowing circle appeared on the ogre's back shoulder. Taking advantage of this, he maneuvered behind the ogre and threw a knife directly into the marked spot. After the ogre let out a guttural scream, it fell silent, looking at the corpse. Kai realized the skill revealed the creature's weak spot. Though useful, Kai knew the ability wasn't enough since he needed more to survive. Clenching his fist, he vowed to become even stronger. Soon after, 3 goblins suddenly appeared. In response, Kai activated his weak point detection. The skill marked each goblin's head and heart as weak points. Knowing this, he threw his knives and accurately struck their heads and hearts. With that, he killed them instantly, while retrieving his weapons. He doubted the skill since goblin weak points were obvious. Knowing this, he decided to find a stronger creature to test his skill. Unexpectedly, he heard footsteps nearby. Turning around, he spotted a figure, and it was Rin. Rin said she didn't find him in the dorms, and guessed he was in the forest. Kai then told her to return since the forest was dangerous at night. However, Rin shot back that it should be her line. With that, he said he was used to the night, and fighting monsters in the dark was risky for her. Still, she told him to shut up and demanded to know what he was doing. Kai replied that he was testing out his new divine protection. Seeing her confused, he reminded her. Ted said their abilities could evolve with divine protection level UPS. Curious, she asked what new ability he had gained, but he countered by asking why he should tell her. Frustrated, she exclaimed that she came after being worried about him. However, he questioned if she truly was embarrassed. Rin denied it and said it was just a figure of speech. Moving on, he asked her to return to the dorms, as he wanted to keep testing his ability. Rin then tried to go with him, but she noticed something in the distance. She pointed toward a plume of smoke. They saw the smoke rising from a burning building. Near the blaze, goblins, a lizardbull, and an ogre were emerging. Meanwhile, Hanno and the others were trying to escape the fire, but Hanno found herself face to face with the ogre just in time. Shuji arrived and struck down the ogre. After saving her, he asked if she was all right, and she quickly confirmed that she was. Unexpectedly, a group of goblins appeared before them. So Shuji muttered a curse as more enemies appeared. Suddenly, flames engulfed the goblins nearby. Rina grumbled about monsters ruining her sleep, but Shin asked her to stop complaining and handle the monsters quickly. As the building continued burning, Kai and Rin rushed toward it. Upon arriving, they realized it was their dorm and saw the others already fighting. Suddenly, Yoshi noticed them and felt relieved to see they were safe. Kai then asked what happened, but Yoshi said he just woke up to this. Hearing this, Kai guessed a human caused the attack, and they needed to find a ringleader. Just then, Ted appeared and praised Kai for his sharp deduction, but the group was stunned to see that it was him. Kai then realized how the monsters got in, and asked if they came from Ted's lab. Ted confirmed it, and said he also gave the monsters medicine to make them stronger. Hearing this, Kai asked his goal and how killing hero candidates helped him. Ted said he was ordered to eliminate the candidates, even at the cost of his position. Knowing this, Rin asked if Luna had given the order, but Ted clarified he meant the Demon King, not her immediately. Yoshi asked if Ted was a spy for the Demon King. As others fought, Ted confirmed it and added he gained a top research post in the Demon King's army. Seeing Ted had sunk into darkness, I asked if he only cared about monster experiments. In response, Ted claimed, humanity could never understand the true nature of monsters. As the chaos continued, Ted stood tall on the walls. He then signaled the monsters, prompting them to attack the students. In response, Kai gave a signal to Rin. Immediately, she used her ability to order the monsters to halt. Obeying her, the monsters stopped. She then pointed at Ted and declared that he was the real enemy. However, Ted replied that it was pointless and commanded the monsters to awaken. Witnessing this, Rin was obviously shocked. Ted then reminded them that he was a scientist and knew how to handle them. With that, he gave a command for the monsters to attack her. Seeing this, Kai told Rin to step back. He then charged forward and began attacking the monsters, one after another still. Ted laughed and warned that there were more on the way soon. He then stabbed the lizard ball in the head. When the ogre came forward, the remaining monsters hesitated. Noticing this, Ted shouted at them that Kai did not even have a powerful divine protection. Meanwhile, Kai activated his ability and scanned Ted's status. There he found the domination sorcery ability, revealing the monsters were under a stronger command than Rin's. Knowing this, he recalled Ted saying, strong demons use domination sorcery to control monsters. Meanwhile, Ted grew uneasy and decided to use his trump card. With this in mind, he whistled loudly. Hearing this, Kai asked what he had done, but Ted only replied that they would find out soon enough. Ignoring this, Kai prepared to finish the fight quickly. However, he saw something coming. He narrowly dodged an incoming fireball. After reaching safety, he looked up and questioned the massive creature emerging. In response, the monster growled furiously. Ted then proudly revealed it was a red dragon and his trump card. Following that, the dragon noticed a nearby house and kicked the chimney. As a result, the flying debris came hurling toward Kai and the others. Seeing this, Rin doubted they could dodge in time, but Kai quickly shielded her. After that, Kai asked if she was alright, but she was still in shock. So Kai then turned to Yoshi to instruct him to take Rin away, because the next attack was coming. After the dragon flapped its wings, Kai signaled Yoshi to get away. Observing the dragon, he spotted a weak point on its neck. Knowing this, he aimed for it and struck. But his knife shattered on impact, and the dragon remained unharmed. Realizing its scales were too tough, Kai knew his power wasn't enough. Suddenly, Shin appeared and declared that the dragon would be the perfect prey. With that, he activated his destructive blast and launched an attack. After the blow landed, he asked the dragon if he liked his move. But before he could react, the dragon breathed fire on him. Shin was then engulfed in flames and rolled to put them out. Seeing this, Kai reminded Shin he let his guard down, but admitted he was strong. On the other hand, Shin commented that the dragon's attack was painful. Suddenly, Kai told him to listen, and this made him confused. Regardless, Kai emphasized that they needed to take the dragon down together. However, Shin questioned why he would need Kai's help. Kai said he could spot the dragon's weak points, but lacked the power to exploit them. Hearing this, Shin realized that Kai was the one who needed his help. Still, he refused to team up with someone he called noob. With that, Kai reminded him that the dragon was coming. At that moment, the dragon swung its tail toward them, and Shin barely managed to dodge the attack. Following that, the dragon began to build up fire in its mouth. While Shin was still processing the situation, it unleashed a blast of flames toward him. He narrowly dodged it, though he stood up with visible pain. Seeing this, Kai said he could continue if he still believed he could beat it alone. Reluctantly, Shin asked where the dragon's weak point was. Kai responded that there was a scale on its neck that was upside down. Upon looking, Shin immediately spotted it. Kai then said he would distract the dragon, while Shin charged his destructive blast. Hearing this, Shin confidently replied that he could handle that with ease. Suddenly, Ted began shouting at the dragon for hesitating and ordered it to kill everyone. The dragon then roared and flapped its wings fiercely in their direction. Despite the strong wind, Shin and Kai managed to stay on their feet. Kai sprang into action after the dragon noticed him. He had it follow him as he was chased. It tried to bite him, but he evaded the attack. He gave a signal to Shin. Shin acknowledged it and aimed his destructive blast at the dragon's neck. As a result, the dragon groaned in pain, and soon after, its body collapsed to the ground. Witnessing this, Ted was stunned. Meanwhile, Shin casually claimed that it had been easy. But Kai disagreed since Shin was too beaten up. Kai asked Ted what he'd do next after losing his trump card. In a panic, Ted claimed he still had plenty of monsters left. But when he glanced around, he realized most of them had already been defeated. Shuji then stepped forward and confirmed that they had taken care of the rest. Realizing this, Ted tried to escape, but Yoshi blocked his path. As a result, he slipped against the wall and fell. However, he was caught by a block of water. When he rose from the water, he found a knife pointed at him. Kai then said they'd wasted enough time. However, his eyes suddenly turned purple, and this shocked everyone. Moments later, Ted was declared dead. Shuji then asked what happened, and Kai guessed it was a curse like those in the books at the library. After hearing this, Shinji realized Ted was cursed to die if he spoke. Knowing this, Kai warned that the Demon King's army was still a threat to them. The next day at the castle, Luna expressed her surprise at the incident. However, Yoshi pointed out that she should at least apologize for having left Ted in charge. In response, Luna apologized for the misunderstanding, but she clarified she never thought a weak demon tamer could cause such destruction. Upon hearing this, the students were stunned. Rina immediately asked if she knew Ted was a demon and still let him lead. Luna responded that the incident was part of the tougher training she had warned about still. The students insisted they almost died when Ted set the fire, but Gaius scolded them instead for acting childish and failing to stay alert. However, his remark only infuriated them further. However, Kai agreed that they missed the monsters, but expecting so much from students felt unfair. Moving on, Luna told them their next stop was the royal capital. Shuji immediately asked what they would be doing there. She explained that a public parade would be held in their honor. Thus, they would be going on stage as the main participants. Meanwhile, the students gathered around their tents. While eating, Shin informed the others that about 30 soldiers were stationed nearby. The others were confused, so he clarified that he had counted the number of soldiers accompanying them. He also noted that none seemed particularly impressive. Knowing this, one lackey noted Shin could knock them out with one punch, but questioned him, noticing their confusion. Shin said it was the perfect time to start their plan. The second lackey agreed, pointing out that unlike before, so he suspected the authorities hadn't even considered a rebellion. With that, he decided they would act tonight and ordered them to call Yoshi's group. Unbeknownst to them, Kai had been eavesdropping. He silently agreed with Shin that the few soldiers present were poorly trained, but that was only because Luna and Gaius were confident in them, and he wondered why with that in mind. He called Shuji over and asked if they could talk. Not far from the campsite, Shin and his group stood together. Shin asked if they thought the others not on watch duty were already asleep. Yoshi confirmed that they were, so Shin decided it was time to begin. However, Shuji's group appeared to stop them. Seeing them, Shin's group was caught off guard and said he'd heard they planned to kill Luna and Gaius. In response, Shin asked who told him that, but Shuji only replied that he had overheard it while passing by. Rina then asked if they were really going through with something this insane, but Shin calls them insane instead for letting Luna treat them like lapdogs. Shuji admitted he understood, but said this was too much and they needed another way. But Shin accused him of empty talk, so he revealed his plan to follow Luna, defeat the Demon King to ensure their safety. Still, Shin claimed that Luna would never listen. However, Shuji believed that gaining strength would give him the power to change things regardless. Shin declared he didn't need protection and told Shuji to step aside, but Shuji stood firm, sending him flying with that. Shuji was shocked by the strength and speed behind it. At the same time, Shin couldn't believe that Shuji had actually withstood his strike. Unexpectedly, 2 guards arrived and asked what they were doing. Shin grew tense, but Shuji quickly responded that they were just discussing something. Hearing this, the guards told them to rest since they'd be up early the next morning. Once the guards left, Shuji turned his gaze back to Shin. Shin muttered that everything was becoming tiresome. Shuji stayed silent, so Shin said he'd had enough and ended their confrontation. At the royal capital of Didris, the surroundings were filled with a festive atmosphere. In response, Rina pointed out that it still wasn't as crowded as Tokyo, and Yumi agreed soon after the parade began. The people around quickly turned their attention toward the arriving group. Gaius then ordered them to clear the road and make way for Luna and the hero candidates. When they saw them, cheers erupted from the spectators. So Shuji raised his hand to greet the crowd in response. Meanwhile, Shin and the others appeared visibly irritated. At the same time, Kai saw the people's faith in them as their savior, but Rin found it unsettling. With that thought, Kai turned his gaze toward the royal castle. After the parade, they were welcomed by the Holy Knight Rains, who instructed them to rest immediately. The students quickly sank into bed and were grateful after nights on the ground. On the other hand, the girls were delighted to relax in the warm bath, just like them. Shin's group was overjoyed to finally eat with generous portions. Elsewhere, Shuji chose to dedicate himself to training. Meanwhile, Kai continued to observe the castle closely and decided to gather some information. However, he noticed guards stationed by the door and patrolling the hallways. Realizing the risk of being caught, he decided not to move around for now. Suddenly his attention was caught by the presence of Rains, who had been their guide earlier. With that, he decided to eavesdrop. A guard asked Rains where the hero candidates were, and he said they were likely resting. The guard then asked if the kids were chosen by the gods, and Rains said they were clearly special. Another guard agreed, noting recent unusual activity and urged more caution. Hearing this, Kai wonders who the Demon King's followers are, and meanwhile, Rains assured them the hero candidates would protect the capital. With that, he reminded them that it was time for training and left. However, Kai's questions continued to build, so he decided to head into town. Later that night, inside a tavern, the patrons were busy with their own affairs. Suddenly, someone ordered a jug of ale and the tavern's best snack. In response, the bartender quickly complied with Kai's request. Not long after, some men said the hero candidates looked like kids, but one warned them not to let the church hear them. Hearing this, Kai guessed the church held more power than kings or nobles, by how carefully people spoke about it. Soon his drink arrived. Hearing this, the bartender assumed Kai didn't know the country was at war with the demon army. So he said the Demon King is a terrifying monster, whose power can even seduce humans. Additionally, the Demon King's followers cause chaos, like the noble's estate bombing recently. Kai then called the troubling, and saw the Demon King's followers as a terrorist group. As he walked back through the city streets, she asked where he had been. He told her he had gone out to gather information. Concerned, she reminded him that it was dangerous to go alone, and offered to help him however. With that, he finally agreed to let her help. After being assigned to gather info, Rin gladly accepted it soon. She walked away happily unbeknownst to her. A man in a robe had been watching her. After returning to his room, Kai found no useful info, but confirmed a new enemy's presence. Just as he settled in, a loud noise outside caught his attention, which is unusual after he stepped out. He saw several students gathering. When he asked what happened, they explained that Rin was missing. It was first discovered by her roommate Hanno, so everyone started the search. Though unnoticed due to having no roommate, Kai knew the situation was serious. Hearing this, Shuji began thinking. Meanwhile, Kai knew that most people in town should be sleeping now. Regardless, he decided to check the town, and he believed Rin could still be nearby. While walking, something on the ground caught his attention. Upon inspection, he discovered it was Rin's ID unexpectedly. Someone appeared behind him. Soon, several figures launched a surprise attack. Kai reacted immediately by countering one attacker with his knife. He then caught another's wrist and forced his blade against his comrade's neck. When one of them rushed forward again, Kai delivered a powerful kick to his head. The attacker reached for a fallen knife, but Kai stomped on his skull, which surprised the other attacker. Seeing him, Kai noted their poor coordination and lack of proper training. Moreover, they looked like clumsy civilians, and this made him question their goal. As one of the men trembled in fear, Kai demanded answers elsewhere. Rin was being held captive in a dungeon. Seeing her angry look, her captors mocked her attempts to fight back. Still, she remained defiant and refused to reveal anything. The captors then claimed to only want information about the hero candidates, but she refused to do so, so they tore her blouse. Seeing her embarrassed, her captors asked her if she could still continue to resist. Unbeknownst to them, Kai was already nearby. After checking their status, He was surprised Rin was taken by such weak people. Regardless, he threw his knives, and it directly hit the captors' heads. Seeing her captors suddenly fall down, Rin was momentarily confused. Suddenly, he heard someone call her name and was surprised to see it was Kai. As he freed her, she tried to apologize, but he signaled her to stay quiet first. So he became alert and looked toward the entrance. A moment later, a figure emerged and attacked with a sword. Luckily, Kai dodged the strike with Rin in his arms. Seeing Kai dodge, Rains coldly said he'd have to kill them for real. As Kai got a better look at him, he recognized Rains as the man from the Knight's Order. Rains confirmed his identity and revealed his true title as General of the Demon King's army. With that, Kai realized the capital was full of enemies and that the country was nearing collapse. But Rains replied that the end would come even faster once the hero candidates were dead. As Kai faced Rains, he activated his ability and couldn't be underestimated. Meanwhile, Rains did not hesitate and immediately launched an attack, but Kai managed to dodge his sword. Seeing this, Rains followed up by casting fire magic. A fireball raced toward Kai, and he narrowly avoided it. Rains closed in midair where Kai could no longer dodge. In response, Kai threw a knife at him, but Rains dodged it and called it useless. Following that, he engulfed his sword in flames. With this, he declared that it was the end for Kai. Unexpectedly, Kai drew his gun. As a result, the bullet struck Rains in the forehead. After bringing Rains down, Kai looked at the gun that he hadn't planned to use for something like this, considering he had limited ammunition. Still, he admitted jumping was a fatal mistake and reminded himself to learn close combat. But she found it scary that a classmate had a gun. Regardless, she still thanked him for coming to save her, but he brushed it off as coincidence and changed the topic to her domination ability. Rin then explained she couldn't use magic while chained, but now she was fine hearing this. He realized that the chains must have been enchanted. Moving on, he handed her coat back and reminded her that they needed to leave. Rin told them her captors planned to attack their classmates. In response, he confirmed he heard the same from an attacker he caught earlier. The man had begged for his life, but Kai told him it would depend on whether he confessed. Under pressure, the man revealed they were ordered to kill the hero candidates. After hearing this, Kai asked if he had killed Rin, saying she was alive and meant to be used as a hostage. Later, as they headed back, Kai was surprised Rain survived, unlike Ted, leading him to suspect it wasn't demons doing. Rin confirmed they were human zealots and couldn't believe they're not their allies. Hence, Kai warned her not to be fooled, like how she was chained after she let her guard down. Annoyed, Rin said they answered her questions, but he questioned why she wasn't suspicious. Hearing this, she finally admitted that she had been careless. Suddenly, they heard someone calling out to them. Looking up, they saw Shuji running toward them. Seeing Shuji relieved to see her safe, she quickly apologized for causing worry. Despite everything, Shuji was glad she was unharmed and asked if Kai had found her. Kai replied that they needed to talk, which made Shuji realize that something serious had happened. Kai explained that human cultists serving the Demon King were targeting the hero candidates. Hearing this, Shuji realized humans were harder to identify than monsters. Kai also agreed and suggested that everyone be reminded to stay cautious, to which Shuji agreed regardless. They had to regroup and inform the others still searching for Rin. Suddenly, a loud noise echoed nearby. They looked up and saw smoke rising in the distance. Upon seeing them, Shuji guessed they had been waiting for this moment. Kai confirmed it and urged everyone to prepare for battle. Just like Kai's group, Yoshi's group, Rina's group and Shin's group were also surrounded by enemies. Upon checking their status, Kai saw the enemies had lower stats than Rain's, but were clearly skilled fighters, as one of them gave the command to attack. All 6 enemies charged at Kai's group. Kai then immediately signaled Rin. In response, she ordered the enemies to halt. As a result, they were suddenly immobilized. Kai threw his knives and struck the enemies directly in the forehead. Kai firmly stated that they were still enemies. When Shuji tried to object, Kai pointed out that there was still one enemy left. That's when Shuji noticed someone approaching from behind. Reacting quickly, he blocked the enemy's sword with his own. When they were all human, the enemy simply replied that everything they did was to serve their master. Rin then attempted to help, but Kai stopped her, and this confused her. Hence, he told her not to interfere, since he wanted Shuji to handle it himself. With that, Shuji sprang into action and shattered the man's sword, while the attacker was surprised. Shuji gave him a chance to live if he surrendered. However, the enemy believed Shuji was mocking him and launched another attack. As a result, Shuji's arm was hit. Laughing at Shuji's injury, the man taunted him, which only frustrated Shuji more. So he retaliated by slashing the enemy down. He was still conscious and muttered that he wasn't finished yet. Seeing this, Kai urged Shuji to end it. Still, Kai refused and insisted that Shuji must eliminate the threat. Shuji then asked how he stayed calm, but Kai said it was about choices. Moreover, their classmates are still in danger and need his help. With that, he asked Shuji if he valued enemies' lives over their friends' safety. Faced with reality, Shuji made his choice. After finishing off the man, he declared with resolve that he was going to save everyone. Meanwhile, in an alley, enemy bodies were scattered across the ground. At that same spot, Shin stood before the last conscious enemy. The enemy struggled, but Shin only grinned. He then struck the man with his fist, sending him flying and rendering him unconscious. Watching this, his lackeys commented on his mercilessness. Elsewhere, some enemies were still alive, so Rina launched a fireball. As a result, the men were burned alive. However, she wondered why there were so many of them. Looking around, she asked where the others were, and told her team to finish off the rest. However, the girls hesitated because their enemies were human. In response, Rina asked if they wanted to die. As expected, both Mina and Yumi were attacked due to their hesitation. Seeing this, Rina questioned the humans. Suddenly, Luna appeared and asked if she should just give everyone a passing grade. Upon seeing her, everyone's attention turned to Luna. The enemies immediately recognized her as the saint. In response, Luna confirmed it while saying it was natural to help her subordinates. However, an enemy mocked her for coming alone and asked if she was insulting them by this. Unbothered, she called them foolish amateurs unworthy of being her enemies. Angered, the man ordered the others to kill her immediately. They charged toward Luna, but before they could reach her, she calmly smiled and muttered the word prostrate. In an instant, the man and his allies collapsed. Soon they realized they couldn't move, and that even trying to get up was impossible. Watching this, Rina noted that it seemed similar to Rin's power. However, Luna refused to be compared to that skill, so she stated that her own domination skill surpassed Rin's in both power and range. After hearing that, Rina asked why she had come to save them, but would have preferred they handled it themselves regardless. Rina thanked her, but Luna replied that it was her duty to protect her subordinates. Suddenly, one of the subdued enemies tugged at her dress. He then demanded attention and asked what she planned to do with them. Seeing that he was still conscious, Luna apologized following that. She used domination on the hero candidates as well. As a result, they were forced to raise their weapons. Without hesitation, they aimed them at the remaining enemies. One of the enemies begged for his life, but Mina was unable to resist and was forced to stab him with her own hand. Meanwhile, Kai and Rin stood nearby. They silently watched as their classmates were made to kill the enemies. Upon witnessing the event, Kai quickly realized that Luna had cast a high-level domination spell. Beside him, Rin agreed Luna's power far surpassed hers in strength, range, and control. Knowing this, he began planning countermeasures against her power. Later that night, inside the castle, Shuji and the others gathered together. Among them, Kai noticed that Rina remained noticeably quiet. Suddenly, Murray approached her and asked if everyone was okay. In response, Rina revealed that many were still in shock. Hearing this, Murray agreed with her. Meanwhile, Yoshi said Luna should be accountable for forcing them to kill. After saying that, he asked Rina if she had been controlled as well. Rina confirmed it, but said that moving on would be harder for the others. Even Rin admitted that they should have arrived earlier, but Kai said it wouldn't have mattered, since they weren't strong enough to resist Luna earlier. They had split into two groups during the search, which allowed them to save some of the students, though not in time to help Rina's group. Still, he knew the cult would return despite losing Reigns, but something else concerned him more. With that, he called out to Rin and asked her to come with him for a moment. In response, she agreed without hesitation. Later, after they closed the door, Rin asked what he was planning to do. She asked if he had something specific in mind. In response, he told her to dominate him first, but the request made Rin blush in shock. The day after the cult attack, the kingdom held a grand parade for the hero candidates. The event marked the capital's admiration for the candidates. After fighting the demon cult, with this Shuji and the others were embraced with open arms. Acknowledging the cheers, Yoshi and Murray waved at the crowd, while Shin simply observed them with little enthusiasm. Like him, both Kai and Rin appeared hesitant. However, Kai found the celebration too prepared, and suspected Luna had planned it. If true, it confirmed his belief that she was more dangerous than she seemed. Later, near the gate, the candidates were assembled. Once everyone arrived, Luna announced they would return to the Temple City Alpha. She then explained that Gaius would take over, while she handled the recent incident. Hearing this, Rina noted their old dorms were already burned down, making another girl laugh. But she stopped and noticed that some of her classmates were unusually quiet, concerned. Rina turned to Yumi and asked if she was all right. Yumi gave a nervous reply and told her not to worry. But Luna suddenly questioned if something was wrong. Startled by this, Yumi lost her balance. Thankfully, Rina managed to catch her in time. As Rina checked on Yumi, Luna watched them in silence. She then stated that she would be taking her leave. However, Rina shouted at her to stop. Luna paused, but Yumi quickly begged Rina to let it go. With that, Luna gave a pleased smile and resumed her farewell. As she walked away, Shuji stared at her sharply. Kai and Shin also watched her with visibly different reactions. Not long after, Gaius reminded the group that it was time to depart. That night, the class set up camp outdoors while the others rested. Shin and his group slipped away into the forest. Observing this, Kai commented that Shin was finally putting their plan into motion. Upon hearing this, Rin asked if they were really going to go through with it. Kai replied that Luna was no longer around, and only 30 weak soldiers were stationed as guards, given that this was the best opportunity to kill Gaius, and there was no reason for him to stop them. Meanwhile, Yoshi guided Gaius through the forest, saying he'd seen a dragon-like monster nearby. Yoshi remarked it was odd, as he was sure he'd seen it nearby before. Gaius then said the area LED to the capital, so if a dragon lived there, it must be reported for a hunt. Just then, Yoshi suddenly shouted and pointed towards something in the distance, so Gaius drew his sword at that moment. Shin leapt from behind and unleashed his destructive blast, almost caught in the attack's path. Yoshi scolded Shin for nearly hitting him. Meanwhile, Gaius managed to avoid the worst of it, but he still took damage and raged. He cursed Shin by calling him a bastard. But Shin simply remarked that Gaius was one tough opponent for surviving his full power attack. Determined to finish the job, Shin continued his assault. Gaius then tried to create some distance. But as Shin mocked that tough bastards were his specialty, Gaius stepped on a trap with Shin's landmine magic. The explosion hit him directly. After that, Shin said they lured him here, so a trap was certain despite that. The attack still badly hurt Gaius regardless. Gaius accused him of relying on cheap tricks and admitted to underestimating him. But Shin simply thanked him and said he'd kill him. The rest of Shin's group emerged and surrounded Gaius. Still, Gaius stood his ground and readied his sword. Hence, Shin gave the order for them to show no mercy on him. Realizing the situation was dire, Gaius pulled something from inside his clothes and threw it into the air. It shot upward and exploded. Watching it, Shuji wondered aloud what it was, while Rin quietly admired how beautiful it looked. But Kai immediately realized that it meant Shin had made a critical mistake. Meanwhile, the guards noticed the light in the sky and wondered if it was a distress signal. After realizing that Gaius was missing, they quickly assumed he was under attack. One guard quickly ordered the others to check the signal's location. However, he was suddenly attacked. After seeing it was Kai, the guards were caught off guard. Without hesitation, Kai held a knife to a guard's neck and declared he had to die. With that, he swiftly sliced his throat. The remaining guards rushed to retaliate, but Kai evaded their attacks with ease, fooling that he stabbed one of them in the head, then hurled his body into another. When that guard tried to block with his spear, Shocked, the remaining guards asked why a hero candidate would do this. But Kai raised his blade while warning there was no time for questions, and mercilessly eliminated the rest. Meanwhile, Gaius was still surrounded. So Yoshi summoned his magic and launched a wind lance. One of his allies amplified its power with support magic. Noticing the sudden surge in force, Gaius immediately leapt away to avoid the impact. Even so, the other students chased after him. He initially thought they were slow, but to his shock, his sword broke due to the students' steel body power. Realizing this, Gaius cursed the strength of their divine protections. Before he could recover, Shin launched his next attack, which was an explosion. The blast hit Gaius hard and sent him toward the back. Now exhausted and missing arm, Gaius was barely standing. Even then, Shin acknowledged his persistence. Suddenly, Yoshi warned that Gaius was trying to buy time, using the earlier distress call. But Gaius replied that there was no longer any need. Meanwhile, the remaining guards were already captured and tied up. Seeing this, Shuji asked Rin what she was doing as Rin used her domination magic. She calmly replied that she was simply following orders. But this puzzled Shuji meanwhile. Rina was also surprised since Rin rarely followed what others said. Suddenly, Kai arrived and explained that Rin was following his orders. Rin then reported capturing 7 guards while some escaped, but Kai assured her he handled the rest. Visibly disturbed, Shuji asked what he meant, and Kai bluntly said he killed them all. Hearing this, Rin remarked that he was as merciless as ever. However, this made Shuji question Kai's actions. Kai explained he handled the rest to avoid interference with Shin's fight. Only then did Shuji realize why Shin's group had been absent. But Rina then asked if this was the same rebellion plan they discussed. There was no need to ask since the tied-up guards were her answer. Still confused, Shuji asked if Kai was siding with Shin, but Kai replied that he was simply doing what he wanted, and told Shuji to go find Shin himself. Accepting the urgency, Shuji ended the conversation. With that, he urged the others to go and stop Shin's group. Meanwhile, Luna continued to tell Gaius he seemed to be losing. In response, Gaius admitted it was shameful, but said he could no longer escape aging. At the same time, Yoshi asked Shin about their next plan, though the situation left them with few options. Shin refused to run away still. The others reminded him that Luna had just been the one, controlling them in response. Luna admitted her power was less effective on those with strong mana and resistance, but relying on divine protection made them weak and easy to subdue. Hearing this, Shin called her a coward and said she couldn't win a fair fight. However, Luna just smiled. She then called his taunt cheap, but said she'd handle them herself to break their resistance. However, Gaius realized she aimed to enslave them with her skill, and felt it went too far, but Luna reminded him that she was the saint, and thus she was more favored by the gods than any of them. But Luna signaled him to stay back. She then called upon the land beneath her. The ground rose up and struck Shin while he was still disoriented. She called the wind next, so he was struck again and sent him flying. Fortunately, Yoshi caught him. Worried, the big student called Shin. However, Luna summoned fire, which quickly engulfed him. As a result of the water spell, the student couldn't breathe. When the water finally burst, he passed out. Seeing this, the others were stunned still. Luna asked if they were finally done. However, Shin answered no. He asked if she really thought she had already won and cursed her. However, Shuji's group suddenly arrived. Looking up, he ordered Shin to stop and asked what he hoped to achieve. In response, Shin asked him not to interfere. Shuji then turned to Yoshi and asked if he shared Shin's view. Yoshi apologized, but emphasized that he couldn't trust Luna anymore. After Shuji fell silent, Rina spoke up by agreeing with Yoshi. She added that if they rebelled, it'd be better to do it together. Surprised, Mary reminded her that violence wasn't the right solution, as Shuji continued to reflect. Luna noted how divided they remained even now. She then said they were already rebels, and questioned if stopping now would earn forgiveness. Upon hearing this, Murray, the boys Rina, Shuji, and Hano were all visibly shocked. Regardless, Luna summoned wind magic to blow away her enemies. But before it could strike, Yoshi countered with his own spell. Their winds collided in midair, creating a violent storm as the others struggled against the wind. Luma smiled hence. Yoshi quickly realized that her magic was pushing him down. Soon they were all engulfed by the wind. After a while, Shuji managed to escape, but Hano and the others were clearly injured. Seeing this, Shuji's concern deepened. But Shin told him to calm down and reassured him that no one had died yet. However, he warned Shuji to decide as an action could cost everyone's lives. Hearing this, Shuji finally raised his sword. But he wasn't alone. Rina also ignited her fire magic, saying she had lost her patience. Murray admitted that this was the only choice left. Together their group prepared to confront Luna. Seeing this, Luna said she'd show them the gap in power and status. Watching nearby, Rin asked Kai what to do next. After a moment of silence, Kai said he'd act if Luna used her domination magic, but would trust the others until then. Back in the forest, silence settled over each group. Suddenly, Gaius called out to Luna. He expressed his desire to take the front lines. In response, she agreed and healed him. First, his wounds began to close, and his missing arm regenerated. With both hands now restored, he raised his sword and fully prepared to face Shuji's group once again. Seeing this, Yoshi expressed disappointment, since they had managed to corner Gaius earlier. However, Rina said they were stronger now with their numbers, and still had a chance to win. At that moment, Luna told them to attack whenever they wished, and called the battle a test. But if they couldn't defeat her, she implied that they didn't deserve to be called heroes. To his surprise, Shuji's sword began slicing through Gaius' blade. Gaius quickly stepped back. He then concluded that a direct sword clash would be impossible. Against him, meanwhile, Luna summoned water magic. She then formed icicle arrows aimed at Shuji. Seeing this, Rina countered with fire magic, which melted several projectiles. However, Luna reminded her that more were still coming. As expected, the remaining icicles push forward towards Shuji. He then struck them with his sword, but one managed to hit him. Hence, Yoshi grew anxious seeing Shuji take a hit. Suddenly, the rocks began to float due to Murray's telekinesis. Yoshi also responded by using his gale force magic. Following that, he summoned wind cutters along with Murray's rocks. Without hesitation, they hurled it towards Luna's direction. Despite their determination, their attacks were stopped by Luna's magical shield as the rocks crashed to the ground. Both Murray and Yoshi stared in confusion. Seeing this, Luna said, "No magic could harm someone more loved by God." Hearing this, Kai finally understood what holy divine protection meant, after GI had seen it listed on her status. Still, he saw her low defense and thought a physical attack could work, if not for Gaius at that moment. Gaius continued to confront Shin's attacks. After a normal kick, Gaius noted Shin seemed tired, but Shin said using full power on him would be a waste. With that, he asked Suji to lead Gaius to him and focus on attacking Luna instead. Suji agreed, but he's concerned that his sword might be just as ineffective as his magic. Suddenly, a sword was thrown toward him. Upon realizing who had tossed it, Shuji thanked the person. Luna then remarked that Shuji finally seemed ready for a proper fight. As Shuji charged toward her, Luna quickly cast wind cutter spells. However, Shuji dodged each one and slashed through them with precision. From afar, Rina said her magic was useless to Luna, and Yoshi couldn't help Shin up close. Frustrated, Mary plans to protect the others since they'd be a burden if they join. Now, with that in mind, she turned her attention towards Shin's fight with Gaius. Meanwhile, Gaius continued trying to overpower Shin, but Shin resisted fiercely. At one point, Shin unexpectedly threw his shoe, catching Gaius off guard as a result. Shin landed a solid hit to his stomach. Seeing Gaius stopped, Shin questioned his slow moves and noted his wounds healed, but not his stamina. But Gaius replied that Shin also couldn't rely on his divine protection anymore. At the same time, Luna began casting fireballs at Shuji, hence he was forced to dodge rapidly. Still, he realized that he could be killed by her ranged magic. Knowing this, he began thinking of another strategy to overcome her. When the surroundings finally calmed down, Luna praised Zuji for dodging her attacks, where few in the kingdom could do. However, Shuji knew dodging wasn't enough since it was one-sided. Unless he closed the gap, however, he couldn't rely on the others. since their divine protections were useless. At this range, Luna held a massive advantage, and he needed to be faster. Suddenly, Luna was caught off guard by his movements. In response, she summoned the wind. But Shuji continued to charge forward. So she raised her hand and commanded him to fall. As soon as his body stopped moving, Shuji was filled with confusion. Watching this, Rina and the others were clearly worried. Meanwhile, Luna noticed Shuji was unknowingly enhancing himself. So he's growing rapidly, yet looking at Shuji's unconscious body, she concluded she still had the upper hand. Meanwhile, Shin continued to face Gaius. With his magic no longer an option, he was unsure how to defeat him. Suddenly, Gaius noticed his hesitation and launched a counterattack. Due to this, he slashed Shin across the body. With that, Shin realized he'd been holding back against a weakened old man. Gaius then said without magic, this was his limit and he is still an amateur. But Shin refused to believe he was weak. After beating many foes in his world, hence he remembered that he is still strong even without explosions. Suddenly, he began standing again. So Gaius questioned him still. He continued, even though the sword was slowly cutting his shoulder. Seeing this, Gaius was obviously surprised. Suddenly, Shin clenched his fist and struck him directly in the face. Due to the force, he was sent flying. As Gaius lay unconscious, Shin declared his victory. Meanwhile, Shuji remembered the classmates he had to protect, and the thought of their suffering drove him to rise again. Seeing this, Luna praised his remarkable endurance, but Shuji simply responded that the fight wasn't over yet. Still, she reminded him again that he could never reach her. But in an instant, Shuji appeared right in front of her, although she moved back just in time. The blade still grazed her. Hence, she couldn't believe she had let her guard down. But Shuji was already behind her again. Turning quickly, she summoned water to raise an ice shield. However, it was quickly shattered by his attack. As she backed away, she finally understood what was happening. She realized he hadn't caught her off guard, but he intentionally closed the distance. Thus, she said, Shuji was likely blessed with the instant movement he wanted. Yet, Shuji insisted that he only wished for the power to protect everyone. Hence, he proceeds to point his sword to her neck. But Luna reminded him that he still couldn't defeat her. She then ordered him to kneel, and his body froze once more. After that, she declared she hadn't wanted to use this power, but had no choice at that moment. Kai knew Luna had used her trump card, so he signaled Rin to act on the other side. Luna began to envelop Shuji with magic. She admitted she hadn't planned to use enslaving magic, and that Shuji was truly impressive. Upon hearing this, Shuji could only curse in frustration. As a result, all of them were restrained by her domination magic. Realizing this, Yoshi voiced his helplessness. Luna then acknowledged their efforts and announced that they had earned a passing grade. After dealing with them, she turned her attention to Gaius. She felt disappointed that he lost and thinks he's replaceable. But as long as she could control the hero candidates, there would be no issue hearing this. Yoshi realized the outcome was decided from the start. There was nothing they could do without a countermeasure. Luna then revealed she was allowed to summon them, to control them if they ever threatened the Empire. But suddenly multiple knives came flying toward her. In response, she quickly summoned the land to rise and block the attack. As the knives fell to the ground, she addressed Kai by saying she knew he'd been hiding and killed her subordinates. Luna replied his calmness didn't match a useless ability, so she'd suspected him from the start. Still, she said. Hearing this, Luna challenged him to prove it. She then immediately ordered him not to move. As the enslaving magic took hold, Kai finally experienced its effects. Luna then asked him if he now understood the situation he was in. Unexpectedly, a shot rang out and Luna was hit in the shoulder while holding gun. Kai commented that he had missed because she was the saintess. Shocked, Luna questioned how he was able to move, despite being affected by her magic. But Kai casually pulled the trigger once again, and she was shot, unable to maintain her defense. She questioned Kai's weapon. Kai responded it was his world's deadliest tool, and he hesitated to use it due to limited bullets. Still, Luna composed herself and cast a fire spell. Hence, Kai was momentarily startled as the flames engulfed him. She then mocked him for letting down his guard. But to her surprise, only his robe was burning. before she could question it. Kai pointed the gun at her to stop her next move. He then said her magic failed and she lacked close combat skills, leaving Luna confused why. But Kai claimed he didn't know why, though it was a calculated gamble. Back at that night, he had asked Rin to dominate him. After hearing this, Rin was obviously embarrassed. Still, she said she wasn't into that, and Kai asked what nonsense she meant. He informed her that he researched magic and found no record of enslaving magic. However, he found that when two spells clash, the one cast first takes precedence. Hearing this, she realized that using her domination skill first could override Luna's enslaving magic. Kai confirmed it and added that divine protection was stronger than ordinary magic. Still, she thought her power was weaker than Luna's advanced enslaving magic, but he responded that it ultimately came down to proficiency. After all, her level 1 domination magic and Luna's level 3 enslaving magic are different. So he reminded her of the time Ted's domination magic overpowered hers. Back then he assumed the demons would obey Rin, but he was wrong, so he concluded that Ted's magic had been cast first. By the same logic, Rin's domination could act as a protective layer against Luna's spell. It was a gamble that worked, and he was also testing his control under domination in the present. Luna finally realized that Rin must have been involved, seeing her realization. Kai confirmed he was now under Rin's domination magic. Luna dismissed it as a cheap trick, but Kai declared this was her end. So be prepared to fire, but to Luna's surprise, she was handcuffed, and this sealed her magic. Kai explained the cuffs came from the Demon King's army and could suppress her powers. In response, she asked what he intended to do. He then said he'd release her if she could send them back to their world, but replied that it was impossible, since she could only summon and not return people using his skill. Kai confirmed she wasn't lying, because her status showed no such ability. He then questioned her claim about returning home. After defeating the Demon King, Luna clarified that summoning required divine power, so they relied on God, so it was God who brought them here, and completing their mission was meant to send them back. But Kai asked why she sounded unsure. As others listened, she revealed that many died or went missing. Disturbed, he said he didn't want to fight the Demon King, and asked why she kept it secret. She then added that they still needed the Empire's support, and urged him to release her. Still, Kai raised his knife and was ready to kill her. Kai then questioned him after thinking Shuji had resolved himself, but saw he was still naive. Shuji then explained he wanted to stay a hero candidate, since Luna failed to send them back. But Luna agreed with Shuji. She admitted she got carried away, and promised to pretend none of this happened. Though Kai saw their point, he still believed Luna was dangerous since once freed, she might kill Rin without hesitation. Still, Shuda chose to free Luna. That being a criminal would only hinder defeating the Demon King. Meanwhile, Yu decided with Kai by saying Luna couldn't be trusted and must die, though Shuji agreed. He was worried about what would happen after Luna's death. Kai knew Shuji felt responsible for their classmates, but he was confident handling things alone. Seeing this, Shuji froze in shock. When her body finally fell, the others finally reacted. Shuji then tried to confront Kai, but Kai threw a smoke grenade and bid Shuji farewell. When the smoke cleared, Kai was gone, so all Shuji could do was fall to his knees. Suddenly, Murray exclaimed that Kai's killing of Luna without their consent was unforgivable. On the other hand, Rina confirmed that Kai truly only thought of himself. However, Yoshi began to reflect on Kai's possible reasons. Meanwhile, Rin stared at Luna's body in disbelief. Yet, she remembered that this was exactly what Kai had said might happen. Earlier, Kai had told her his plan. He first plans to capture Luna and try to find a way home. If that failed, he would kill her. Hearing this, Rin agreed, but she was warned that Shuji might protect Luna afterward. And if that happened, Kai said he'd still kill Luna and then escape. In response, Rin asked if he planned to bear the sin of killing Luna alone, so they could blame him upon returning to the Empire. When Rin asked if it would work, he said it was her turn to use domination on them. Still, she asked what would happen to him, but all he said was that he would be fine alone. Now, remembering all this, she couldn't help but think of him. Meanwhile, in a distant castle, A man spoke of God-blessed hero candidates from another world. Hence he ignored the failed assassination report. Knowing this, Wemberg grew interested in the coming war. A few days later, Kai continued wandering through the forest. While drinking, he remembered it had been 2 days since the incident, and he should be near a city. With that in mind, he decided to climb to higher ground. At the mountain peak, he spotted the city that's about half a day's walk away. Later that night, he continued walking. At the city walls, he realized the synthesis killer couldn't enter through the main gate, so he threw a rope over the wall and climbed up carefully. Once inside, he began to think about earning money. Inside, the tavern was filled with busy patrons. Suddenly, a drunk man beside him noticed his unfamiliar face and asked if he was a traveler. Kai confirmed that he had left his hometown and was now searching for a job. The man assumed he was fleeing from the Demon King's army and expressed sympathy, though a misunderstanding. It worked in Kai's favor. So he asked about jobs that didn't need identification. Hearing this, the shopkeeper suggested becoming an adventurer. Kai then asked what kind of tasks adventurers typically performed. However, the drunk man doubted Kai, but the shopkeeper thought he wasn't a novice. The man then believed since Kai traveled alone. The shopkeeper said he could register at the city guild, which needed recruits and wouldn't ask for ID. Kai then noted the shopkeeper's knowledge, who admitted he was a retired adventurer. Setting that aside, the innkeeper handed Kai his meal. The next day, he woke up and noticed that it was already morning, so he began getting dressed. Afterwards, he thanked the innkeeper for the short notice stay and said he might stay longer. Hence, the innkeeper thanked him in return after leaving the building. But since this world lacked photos, he saw no need to stay constantly on guard. Shortly after he arrived at the Adventurers Guild, without hesitation, he entered the place. Ignoring the crowd, he located the receptionist's table. After approaching it, he began the registration, and the receptionist said it cost 1 silver coin. After handing it over, she asked for his name, age, and place of origin, realizing he couldn't reveal his real identity. He called himself Siren, age 17, from a town seized by the Demon King. With that, the receptionist proceeded to register his information. Still, Kai was surprised his code name could be used, so he let her finish the process. Once she stamped the paper, his registration was finalized. She then offered to explain the guild system. She said adventurers ranked F to A. She also showed him the quest board and suggested starting with an F rank mission. After knowing this, Kai went over to the board. There he saw that F rank tasks included gathering medicinal plants and subjugating kobolds curious about kobolds. He chose this mission, however. He was suddenly called out by someone. He then turned to see 3 men saying they'd never seen him, and warning kobolds were too much for him. Irritated, Kai quietly questioned who these fools were. Still, Kai thanked them for the warning and asked them to leave him alone. However, they took this as arrogance. Observing this, others in the guild noticed the group was picking on another newcomer. Suddenly, the eye patch man said Kai needed a lesson. As he moved in, Kai grabbed his wrist, leaving him stunned, but Kai just looked at him irritated. The man then ordered Kai to let go, but he couldn't move at all. Realizing this, he commanded his companions to attack. They rushed toward Kai and intended to land a punch, but moments later, average adventurers were much weaker than the hero candidates. Still, he remained focused on completing his quest quickly. Kai continued his mission. He recalled from the quest details that there should be a kobold hideout nearby. Suddenly, he spotted a set of fresh footprints, which indicated a recent presence. Following the trail, he figured out it's from an animal. While on it, he became aware of something watching him. Sensing he wasn't alone, he guessed the hidden presence was kobolds. Suddenly, a kobold emerged from behind. Luckily, Kai dodged just in time and noticed that the creature wielded a sword. Stolen from a human, another kobold then appeared with a wooden weapon. As it attacked, when the first kobold lunged again, Kai responded with a swift kick to its face. As it fell, he seized its sword and used it to stab the creature. Seeing this, the second kobold was confused, but Kai used the opportunity to throw a knife and successfully hit it. Now, 2 kobold bodies lay on the ground. Immediately, he activated his judgment, and the status showed they weren't a threat, so he decided to hunt them for profit later. Back at the guild, a crowd gathered around at the reception, with the kobold ears piled up. Kai showed it as proof and asked if it was enough. Kai affirmed that he worked alone. However, tracking was slow due to his weak exploration skills. Some guessed he was C-ranked, but were shocked to learn he was a beginner. Meanwhile, the receptionist began preparing his reward. Later that night, Kai idly played with his money bag. Realizing the profit in hunting weak monsters, he decided to work as an adventurer for now. Moreover, building connections at the guild would also help him gather information. However, he suddenly stopped looking up. He saw someone blocking his path. Hence, he asked the man if he needed anything. And since he was far stronger than the others, the man named Lyle then introduced himself as a B-rank adventurer in guild head. Hearing this, Kai asked what business he had with him. Lyle asked if he was Siren, and noted he'd caused trouble earlier to his men. Kai clarified that it was Lyle's men who started the fight, but Lyle doubted him after only hearing a newbie beat his men, seeing no point in arguing. Kai let it go despite that. Lyle said he wouldn't hold back and would teach Kai a lesson. He launched a punch, but Kai easily dodged. As Lyle continued his assault, Kai avoided every strike with minimal effort, determined not to give up. Lyle attempted a high kick, but Kai struck his supporting leg, throwing him off balance and sending him to the ground. After that, Kai noted that Lyle's movements were unrefined and full of openings. Angered by this, Lyle leapt up to attack again, but Kai redirected his strike with ease. He then grabbed Lyle's arm and pinned him to the ground. He then figured Lyle lacked experience fighting humans, likely due to focusing on monsters. Still, Lyle asked why Kai bothered with his men, but Kai just said he'd explain later. Inside a tavern, Lyle loudly apologized to Kai for the misunderstanding. Hence, everyone looks at them. Lyle then looked at his subordinates and admitted that it was his own fault for believing their lies. So he ordered them to apologize, which they did immediately, but he told them to apologize to Kai. So Lyle welcomed the question. He then explained that he was a traveler. While he had registered as an adventurer to earn money, he also had another purpose. Curious, Lyle asked what Kai was after, given his unusual situation. After taking a drink, Kai revealed that he was searching for a way to travel to another world. The revelation shocked Lyle and the others. The two men questioned the possibility, then recalled the hero candidates were also from another world. Kai confirmed. He meant the way to reach the hero candidates' home world. So Lyle said it likely involved magic, though none of them knew how it worked. Kai then asked if they had any leads on how to find such knowledge. Elba might be the person he was looking for. Noticing Kai's confusion, Lyle explained that a sage is an elf, whose guidance once greatly aided their country. Upon hearing this, Kai recalled reading about such beings in books, with elves now rare and reclusive. Kai assumed the sage was one who left their forest, known for both wisdom and powerful magic. Hearing this, Kai recalled elves were indeed gifted in spirit magic, but if no known magic could send them home, perhaps spells might be able to do so. With that, he apologized for not being more helpful, but Kai said it was already useful. For now, it was enough. They then asked what he'd do after finding a way to another world. Kai simply replied that he would leave it to their imagination. Hence, they were left speechless as he walked away. A few days later at the guild, the receptionist handed Kai his reward. After receiving it, she thanked him for his hard work. Kai then reflected that a week had passed since the incident, and he'd saved some money. Suddenly, Lyle appeared and invited him out for drinks, but Kai declined despite that. They told him they looked forward to seeing him again later. On his way, Kai finally gathered more information about the sage. He learned Elba was a retired advisor living at the western border, now threatened by the Demon King's forces. Hence, he set out to find the sage, after not needing to stay in the city anymore. Meanwhile, at the Holy Temple of Alpha, Shuji met the man overseeing the hero candidates. After the saintess died, this man named Henry, and captain of the Holy Knights, asked Shuji if they had any complaints so far. Shuji replied there was nothing in particular. He was simply showing respect to valuable national assets. Murray then thanked him and thought he seemed unlike Luna, despite his looks. Moving on, Henry told them that the hero candidates will be mobilized. Shuji immediately asked if this meant they were being sent to the front lines. Henry confirmed it. He also noted the ongoing battles at the western border and directed them to their assigned fort. He kept the promise to protect students unfit for combat. With that, Shuji thanked him at once. However, he added that those staying behind must still help out to earn their meals upon hearing this. Setting that aside, Murray asked when they would depart. Henry replied that they would leave the next morning and requested that they inform the others on their way back. Mary was relieved that Henry had accepted Shuji's request. Shuji agreed and admitted he feared his demands were too much. Mary then guessed. Mary began to wonder where Kai might be now. However, this reminded Shuji of how Kai left them back then when they returned. The bishop was shocked to hear the saintess was dead. Thus, he demanded to know who was responsible. Rena stated that the criminal was none other than Kai, one of the hero candidates. So Rena replied that he had fled and noted that he was surprisingly fast for a traitor. The guards then discussed sending inquisitors, but needed proof the saintess was truly dead. At that moment, the bishop remarked that Kai's escape story seemed a little too convenient. Irritated by this, Shin asked what the bishop was trying to say. The bishop said he wasn't denying their story, but suspected they might have conspired with Kai to kill Luna. Hearing this, Shuji began to feel uneasy, but one of the guards shouted that he had witnessed the entire incident. He explained the hero candidates tried to protect Luna, but were no match for Kai. Hearing it from Luna's guards, the bishop accepted it and asked if Kai was really that strong. Shuji confirmed it, adding that Kai had been hiding his true strength all along. With that, asked to continue the talk in private and requested one to join him. Meanwhile, Rin stayed hidden and confirmed her domination ability had worked, aware of her support. Shuji silently thanked her since they had narrowly avoided disaster. Back in the present, Mary tells Shuji that it's pointless to worry about Kai. In response, he agreed. But deep down, he blamed himself for Kai's sacrifice, since it was his duty to protect everyone. So he clenched his fist and was determined to keep moving forward. Later, in the hall, Shuji gathered the others. He announced their deployment and told all combat personnel to prepare for departure. The next morning, upon hearing this, students grew visibly nervous by the reality of facing real combat. Rena then reminded them it was too late for fear, since they'd chosen the combat unit. Still, they couldn't help but feel anxious. Hanno then asked if they would be sent to the front lines alone, but Shuji reassured them they were under Henry, who's captain of the 8th Night Corps. Suddenly, Rin asked if there had been any updates about Kai. Shuji said there was a bounty on Kai and ongoing efforts to find him. Rin silently walked past him. Meanwhile, Renee shouted she didn't care if Kai was a traitor since she burned him. If she ever found him, as Rin looked out the window, she wished Kai had taken her with him. Inside the forest, the knights and hero candidates marched toward their destination, but Shin remained alert soon. A girl voiced her exhaustion and asked if they could take a break, and would likely walk until nightfall. Some boys then complained about 2 days of boring walking, hoping for excitement suddenly. Shin raised his hand to stop them. When asked what was wrong, he said he sensed magical beasts in the bushes. Hearing this, the group quickly became alert. Suddenly, one of the knights questioned why they had stopped. Shuji informed him that they had detected magical beasts nearby, but after seeing nothing, the knight dismissed it and told them to stay put. Offended, Shin asked him to repeat himself. He then immediately grabbed the knight by the neck and lifted him off the ground. Seeing this, Shuji quickly ordered Shin to release him. However, Shin retorted, asking why he should take orders from someone he considered worthless. At that moment, a scratching noise echoed through the forest. Hearing this, Shin released the knight. Just soon after, a group of monsters emerged. The guards identified them as sharp rabbits and ordered everyone to get ready immediately. The rabbits charged toward the group. One of them targeted a guard and used its sharp claws to slash at him. The impact sent the guard's sword flying and landing far out of his reach, with the rabbit standing before him. The guard froze in fear unexpectedly. An explosion struck the rabbit. Immediately after, Shin kicked the rabbit and crushed its head with a stomp. Seeing this, the guard and surrounding rabbits were stunned still. The guard expressed his gratitude, but Shin only told him to stay out of his way. Without delay, he charged into the enemy and punched the rabbits, and thought his power felt more violent than before. But despite this, Shin felt dissatisfied. In his mind, this was still not enough compared to Kai's. Back to that night, when Kai had threatened Luna. He had watched Kai shoot her, and rage bubbled up inside him at the thought that it was Kai again. From the start, Shin had a bad feeling since Kai never showed any fear toward him, nor did he react to his presence at all. When Shin challenged him, he felt how strong Kai was. But after receiving the power of explosion, he wrongly thought he was stronger and felt annoyed at Kai. Back in the present, Shuji noticed Shin's bad mood and asked what was wrong. Shin dismissed the concern, but added that he just hated taking orders from those he saw as weak. At Fort Trust near the western border, guards stood ready at their post. Inside, Captain Amelia greeted and thanked the hero candidates. She then introduced herself as the new captain of the Knights. At the western border, hearing this, Henry asked what had happened to the previous watchdog. Captain Amelia said he died a week ago, and this shocked everyone. Hurriedly reported that the Demon King's army was approaching. Upon hearing this, Amelia said there'd be no time to rest, and that she was counting on them. In response, Shuji acknowledged it. He then immediately began issuing orders to prepare for combat. Among the group, Shin appeared to be the most eager to fight. Outside the fort, the warning bell rang. As the guards spotted the demon army not far from the walls, a large group of demons marched forward, and their numbers were overwhelming. So the students were shocked by the size of the approaching force. Meanwhile, Henry ordered to fire and thin the enemy before they got close. The guards readied their bows, while the holy knights began channeling fire magic. As the arrows were released, flames engulfed them midair. Thus the demons struck by them caught fire. Still the demons refused to retreat and continued their assault. Hence Shuji was surprised by their tenacity. Amelia then said the attacks wouldn't work, since demons had much greater stamina. Knowing this, Shuji asked what they should do next. In response, she told them to obey Henry while she led the fourth knights in a battle. Hearing this, Henry meant to wish them Godspeed, but saw they had already moved out. But Shuji was puzzled by this. Serena revealed that others were already on the battlefield, and this surprised him at the battlefield. Explosions shook the area, but the demons looked around in confusion. Shin then appeared before them, and along with are the other students. Seeing them, the demons mocked them for rushing into battle recklessly and declared that he didn't care whether they were demons. That's because he simply intended to erase them from existence. It created an opening through which the demons broke, and one of them easily struck the guards, while another demon prepared to strike with his axe. But before he could attack, he was beheaded while the guard was stunned. He realized it was Shuji who had saved him. Soon after, more demons charged toward Shuji. Without hesitation, he extended his sword and slashed them down in one swift motion. Following that, he reminded himself he could do it, since the power in him was still growing. He then told the class they could win, and urged them to fight without fear. Hence the students responded with a shout of agreement. Without hesitation, Shuji charged into the enemy lines. He knew hesitation would shake his classmates, so he had to lead with confidence. Moreover, Kai had already shown him the cost of being naive. Like Shuji, Mary encourages the others to fight. Rina also joins with her fire magic and burning nearby demons. Meanwhile, Rin used her domination ability to control the demons' actions. With that, the class fought with everything they had. Seeing the demons retreat, the guards were amazed by the hero candidates' strength in overwhelming the enemy. With that, Henry ordered the knights and guards to help push the demons back. In response, the soldiers were in agreement. Later, after the battle, the field outside the walls was strewn with demon corpses. Shin, Shuji, and the others stood amidst the silence. Suddenly, Amelia declared the battle won, and the demon army had been defeated. Hearing this, everyone cheers throughout the battlefield. As the sun began to set, Shuji stood quietly. Suddenly, Henry walked up and asked how his first real battle went. Shuji admitted it was tough and he lost focus, so he was unable to give clear orders. Even so, Henry said he did well, and the victory was thanks to everyone's efforts. However, he warned Shuji to stay alert, because the enemies today were only low-level demons. Meanwhile, inside a demon fortress, a subordinate apologized for their defeat. Hearing this, the highest executive of the demon army, named Stone, clenched his teeth in fury. Meanwhile, in the western forest of Echo, Kai continued his journey. As he walked, he figured he was near the forest's edge and close to finding the sage. Just then he noticed something nearby. Multiple red strands suddenly lashed toward him. After observing it closely, he realized that it was not a strand, but a tongue looking around. He saw a group of baboons with long tongues. Using his ability, he examined their status. After dropping his bag, he decided to prepare for battle. One of the baboons then moved and extended its tongue toward him. Kai dodged swiftly, but another creature appeared in front of him. Before it could strike, he jumped away. Soon all 3 baboons surrounded him, but Kai sliced it in half. So the creature let out a painful scream. Without hesitation, Kai kept slashing at the exposed tongue. As he neared the baboon, tried to strike. But he dodged, so he called it slow and responded by slashing its body. With that, the creature collapsed to the ground, seeing their companion fall. So Kai mocked them and offered to come after them instead. Moments later, their bodies also dropped to the ground. Looking at them, Kai suspected he was nearing the Demon King's land. As monsters increased, or maybe it was just too far from cities for knights and adventurers to patrol. Regardless, he knew stronger beasts lurked deeper and planned to stay alert. Eventually, he reached Mount Uragano, a natural barrier against the Demon King's army. From where he stood, he saw Reaper Wolf Mountain's peak, where the sage was said to live. As he continued walking, he recalled a small village at the mountain's base. After some time, he finally arrived at his destination, but he was stunned by the sight before him. The village at the base of the mountain was engulfed in flames. As he ran toward it, he suspected the demon army had attacked the village. Within the village, demons were scattered. Seeing this, Kai recalled it was far from the front, but nowhere seemed safe now. While another urged them to continue the massacre, he asked if they had gathered any information about Elba, the second demon, then confirmed that the sage was now at Wolf Mountain's peak. Hearing their intel match the report, Hector grew frustrated gazing at the mountain. He said finding the sage was top priority, and they'd climb after resting. The second demon then warned it was home to untamable Reaper Wolfins, but the first demon asked why. So the third said domination. Magic failed on smart beasts. The second demon then said, a heavenly king once tamed a dragon, but they couldn't knowing that they lacked magic. Hector said they had to fight head on. In response, the other demons shouted in agreement. Observing this, Kai concluded that the group appeared to be well organized. Under and based on the status board, Hector seemed to be a high-ranking demon. So he noted that if Hector held such a rare rank, facing him directly would be risky. He still ordered his subordinates to search the area. As Kai silently moved away, he noted that Hector's senses were exceptionally sharp. The other demons then began urging him to come forward. Fortunately for Kai, stealth were his specialties, so he remained undetected. But nearby, he noticed a group of captured villagers. Still, he chose not to intervene. Continuing his path, he quietly apologized and focused on reaching the sage first, before the demons for that reason. He had to climb the mountain as soon as possible. Later, at the peak of Wolf Mountain, Kai successfully reached the top. After glancing back, he spotted a trail likely used by wild beasts and followed it. However, the view was unclear and the ground was unstable, so he moved cautiously soon. He wondered if he had encountered the rumored wolven around. Soon, more unseen creatures gathered, and their presence was overwhelming. Acting quickly, Kai jumped to evade one of them and landed on a tree branch. From there, he realized these were the magical creatures behind the mountain's disappearances. Using his judgment ability, he looked at the wolfins and checked their status. Just then, one of them lunged at the tree, causing it to crack furthermore. The impact destabilized Kai's footing. As the leaves began to fall, he grabbed one and reinforced it with mana. With precision, he threw it at the attacking wolfen. As a result, the leaf sliced the beast's body in half. After landing back on the ground, Kai faced more incoming attacks. One of the wolfens lunged toward him, but he casually punched it. So before the second wolfen could attack, it was hit by the dead wolfen. As a result, it was also killed in the collision. Seeing their fallen comrades, the remaining wolven grew more enraged. Meanwhile, Kai found that using mana enhanced his physical abilities greatly, after all Luna said. But he vowed to master mana. That's because he believed better control would boost his strength and magic resistance, and even if not as strong as divine protection, it was still a vital skill. So as he cut another wolven, he vowed to train Monica control as he climbed. Soon after, he faced the entire pack and walked straight through them. Before they could react, he had already reached the leader of the pack. But the other wolfens were stunned to see Kai bypass them. Meanwhile, the leader attempted to bite him. But Kai quickly struck first and sliced the beast's body. After the leader fell, he looked back at the remaining wolfens, but they already turned away and fled. Nevertheless, he thought this experience had been a valuable lesson. With that in mind, he continued chasing after the retreating wolfens. While pursuing them, he noticed something strange about their movements. He saw a faint figure move just ahead of each wolfen. He realized it was predicting the trajectory of their actions. As if to confirm it, one of the wolfens moved exactly as the figure had. Another figure then soon appeared towards him, so he retreated, quickly following that. He struck the figure with precision, and a moment later the real wolfen overlapped with it. As a result, Kai's blade sliced clean through its body. From this, he concluded that he had developed the ability to see 1 second into the future suddenly. The remaining wolfens began to hesitate, so he ordered them not to run away just yet, and invited them to continue helping with his training. After a while, their lifeless bodies were left scattered on the forest floor. Using his ability, Kai confirmed he gained the skill, foresight, that showed the near future. Additionally, his judgment ability evolved with weakness detection and revealed all insight despite that. Using so much power had taken its toll. Feeling the fatigue, he decided to take a break, since he was also now close to reaching the peak. However, a sudden noise caught his attention, so he chose to press forward without delay. Meanwhile, near the mountain's peak, the demon army had cornered girl. Hector faced her and noted her persistence as fitting for the sage disciple. But the girl narrowed her eyes and was alert. Hence Hector coldly declared that her time was up and ordered his subordinates to kill her. Hearing his words, the elven girl couldn't believe her life would end here. Suddenly the demon began launching an attack as she shut her eyes in fear. The sound of blood splattering echoed around her. Unexpectedly, Kai intervened and saved her. Still disoriented, she realized that her savior was a human. With that, the demon began questioning Kai's identity. However, Kai remained silent, but he only looked at them and noted that there were 10 soldiers present, including a high-ranking leader. But suddenly the elven girl asked why he had saved her. Kai then responded by asking if she was the disciple of Alba. In response, she confirmed it. So in turn, Kai stated that he had business with Elba, which served as his reason for helping her. As he glanced at her, he observed that she was a half-elf and possessed spell-casting abilities. But Kai chose to protect the girl and hoped to earn a favor from Alba. To do so, he needed to defeat the demon attackers first. Suddenly, a blue demon leaped forward and charged at him. So he activated his foresight ability and spotted the demon's shadow. Thus, it allowed him to dodge the assault. As he studied the shadow, another one emerged behind him, but he easily caught the green demon's arm. Seeing this, the demons were shocked, as the weapon was too large for a human to handle. Yet Kai effortlessly sliced through their ranks. Witnessing his strength, the remaining demons stood in disbelief, but they didn't know Kai was unbeatable with foresight, though it had a time limit. Seeing the strategy fail, Hector told his men to stop charging and use magic instead. The demons agreed and began conjuring magic circles. After that, they unleash a barrage of magical bullets. Witnessing this, Kai realizes for the first time what magic truly looked like. However, the elven girl then began chanting a spell by summoning the sylph wind spirit. She created a gust that deflected the incoming magic bullets and trapped them in a whirlwind. Once the wind subsided, Kai wondered if the spell was a spirit-based technique unique to elves. She then confirmed it and thanked him, since the spirits could rest for a moment. Meanwhile, Hector decided to join the fight, after seeing the battle turn against them. As he approached, Kai called out to the elven girl. He asked her to prevent the others from interfering. since he intended to kill their leader. She quickly agreed, but told him to stop calling her elf and username Mayor. After dropping his stuff, he placed his trust in her as the disciple of the sage. Without delay, he charged in a battlefield. But this mate Mayor reminded him once again to use her name. Ignoring her, Kai clashed with Hector, but his initial attack was halted by Hector's blade, so he quickly stepped back. After gaining distance, he launched a series of strikes from every direction. Despite this assault, Hector remained unmoved, so Kai struggled to break through. Eventually, Hector spotted an opening in Kai's side, so he slashed his sword in that direction. After that, Kai swiftly retreated. Hector then remarked he hadn't expected Kai to predict his charge, but he's certain the wound was clearly serious. With that, Kai realized he had died without foresight against this high-ranking demon. Still, Hector admitted Kai might have beaten him if he weren't human. Determined, Kai activated his judgment ability. He then found Hector's strength. Senses and level 5 swordsmanship left him at a clear disadvantage. As he charged, Kai detected the movement of his shadow. As a result, it strikes Kai's arm. Hence, Kai realized foresight meant little if he couldn't match his opponent's speed and strength. Suddenly, Hector asked if all he intended to do was run away. In response, Kai drew his gun and fired. Seeing this, Hector blocked the bullets with his bare hand. So Kai realized that his reflexes were fast enough to track the speed of the shots. Still, some damage had been inflicted. Following that, he charged again. So Kai fired once more, but Hector dodged, while shouting he could see the attacks, and warned Kai not to underestimate him. With his bullets depleted, Kai resorted to throwing knives. In response, Hector deflected them with his sword. Amid the confusion, Kai discreetly tossed another object toward him. Hector caught sight of the device and stared at it with suspicion, but Kai just stared at it. So he also did the same suddenly. It landed near him and detonated. Hearing the explosion, the other demons became concerned for him. However, Mayor ordered them not to interfere. As she observed Kai, she found herself questioning his identity, since despite being a mere human, he was holding his own against a high-ranking demon. Meanwhile, Kai began to raise a knife. That's because he was out of ammo now, and the grenade was his last explosive. But as expected, this alone was not enough. Suddenly, Hector angrily shouted about the strange tools Kai used in battle. Following that, his growl sent a chill through both Kai and Mayor. Realizing he could not continue fighting like this, he decided to use another skill. Hence, he began analyzing Hector's movements and focused on his shadows once more. After that, he activated his weakness detection, and this pointed to a vulnerable spot, which is Hector's neck. Knowing this, he moved in with precision and aimed directly at Hector's future weak point. As he bled, Hector was obviously stunned. After that, Kai confirmed foresight and weakness detection were powerful, but mana draining. Soon the fatigue overwhelmed him, so he dropped to his knees after being completely out of mana. Meanwhile, the surrounding demons realized their captain had fallen, but seeing Kai exhausted, they prepared to strike him down. Hearing this, Mayor wanted to intervene, but the spirits she relied on were already at their limit. Just as the demons charged, a voice called upon the fire spirit. Flames then erupted around them and engulfed the group in fire. Seeing the flames, it reminded Kai of Rina's power, but at a different level. Suddenly, another elf appeared beside Mayor and apologized for arriving late. Recognizing her, Mayor immediately addressed her as Master. There he realized that this was the sage Elba. With that, Elba turned to him and expressed her gratitude for protecting her disciple. Kai then responded that it was coincidence, and then asked if she was the sage. Though Kai is unable to use judgment, he knew he stood no chance and chose to be honest with her. Seeing him stand up, Elba asked if he had business with her. In response, he admitted that he did. She then agreed no one came without purpose, and offered to answer his questions in thanks for saving her disciple. However, Mayor urged her to head home first, since the blood might attract wolfins. Agreeing to this, Elba invited Kai to come with them, so he could rest as well, and he quickly accepted the offer. As he watched them, he finally realized the risk to save her disciple had paid off. Later, after they arrived home, Mayor wanted to take a bath, She said her main reason was to return to nature, and that humans still exploited her even in retirement. Hearing this, Kai agreed that the area was really not easy to reach. Still, some skilled individuals still found her, but she never turned away those who came in good faith. Hence, Kai told her he was a hero candidate, tasked with defeating the Demon King, and hadn't expected the summoning was already done. But the mention of the third generation caught Kai's attention. That's because he recalled Luna hinting at past hero summoning. Elba then explained the second summoning was 4 years ago, and the first was 10 years ago. Both past hero groups were wiped out by the Demon King, so the summoning ritual was sealed. Still, Luna planned the third summoning, but Elba opposed entrusting a nation to outsiders. In response, he said, already killed Luna, so another summoning shouldn't be possible. However, she doubted he killed her that easily. So he then emphasized that there are many ways to kill a human, even with a difference in skills. Hearing the truth, Elba found it ironic Luna died by her own pawn and said she deserved it. With that, she then understood Kai's wish to return home. However, she revealed that her spells could not send them back, which surprised Kai knowing this. He asked for clues, but she said return magic was impossible and long forgotten. He then said Luna told him the same, and concluded they still had to kill the Demon King. Hearing this, she agreed it was possible and demon arts might also be useful. Hearing about demon arts, he began to consider investigating that next. With that, she apologized for not helping, but promised to inform him if she learned anything. Suddenly, she expressed her belief that he might be the one to kill the Demon King. However, Kai said he didn't want such troublesome work, but if there was no other way, he would do it. Hearing this, Elba was stunned by his words. She finally felt he was unlike other heroes, as if raised in darkness and cold. Moving on, Kai thanked her and asked to be contacted via the guild if she learned anything. Meanwhile, she began thinking about entrusting Mare to him. After a while, the bathroom door opened and Mare appeared looking refreshed. She then slumped on the couch and told Kai to bathe, since he's filthy from the climb and fight. Hearing this, Kai agreed and accepted her offer. Suddenly, Elba made a suggestion, so Kai asked what it was. Hence, she proposed that he bring her disciple along on his journey. Hearing that, Mare quickly asked if she meant her. So Elba replied that she was her only disciple, and the suggestion was based on Mare's goal. Mare then looked at Kai, but he immediately refused since he didn't need a noisy girl. In eastern Beldorna, near the Dagger's front lines, Kai and Mare continued their journey. As they walked, Kai found the weather pleasant, despite tales of the demonic land's harsh climate. But Mare explained they were in former Holy Kingdom land, and harsher weather lay deeper in Veldora. Hearing this, he remembered again the demon army's invasion. Moving on, Mare mentioned New Trat City. That is now the demon army's new front line. It would take them about 2 days on foot to reach it. Curious, Kai asked what had happened to the people who once lived there. Mare then said half the people died. Hearing this, Kai looked at her with a newfound appreciation. He realized she knew more than he thought, and was glad he brought her back. Then he had once refused her company because she was too talkative, which had made her angry at the time. So Elda stopped him, as Meyer's inherited knowledge was invaluable to a newcomer like him. In response, he then asked what Mayer would gain from accompanying him, while gently patting Meyer's head. Elda said Mayer was smart, but lacked experience after spending most of her life studying, but feared the dangers of going alone. But he wondered why she entrusted Mayer to him, instead of taking her herself. In response, she explained that her limits were nearing despite looking young. But then Kai appeared and saved her disciple's life. Hearing this, Mayer appreciated Elba's concern. With that, Kai warned the journey was dangerous, and he'd leave her if she became a burden. Elba then reminded Mayer of his words and entrusted her with the right to choose her path. Faced with the decision, Mayer declared that she would go with him. Back in the present, Mayer was already feeling exhausted, so Kai reminded her that they had only been walking for a single day. Hence, she told him not to expect much from a spellcaster's body, knowing that Kai dropped his bag to get some rest. Suddenly, Mayer brought up what he had said earlier about leaving her behind if she slowed him down, but he said he wouldn't leave her for that, and told her to hurry and set up camp. Hearing this, she responded with a quick yes. Later that night, they camped outside while she ate. Kai couldn't help but look at her, He then reminded her that the journey would soon become more dangerous, and he wouldn't hesitate if it meant returning home. He didn't think Elbow was lying, so he figured Mayer had another reason. Hearing this, she suddenly paused, which was destroyed by the demon army. But Kai was surprised, since he thought the war was just between humans and demons. However, demons wiped out many races, like killing her parents and brother. However, she survived, because her father used himself as bait to distract the demons. After the attack, Elva found her and made her a disciple. But Kai told her he wasn't interested in her past and only in her goal. Hence, she revealed that she became a spellcaster to gain power to kill demons. Hence, all her training and knowledge over the past 10 years was for revenge, and she swore to kill the one who murdered her family. With her own hands hearing this, Kai asked for the name of the demon. She then said it was Wimber, the Wind Heavenly King and a top demon leader. Realizing her goal was Wimber, Kai said he had no reason to fight demons for now. In response, she explained Elba had never let her travel until now. But after meeting him, Elba gave her permission, even though she didn't know why. Back then, Elba entrusted Mare to him. Now he realized Mare might have died chasing revenge alone, without a direction suddenly. Mare apologized for bringing up such a heavy topic. She also assured him she wouldn't drag him into her revenge, since it was hers to face alone. With that, Kai ended the conversation so they could rest for the next day, knowing that Mare told him she'd summon spirits to watch for monsters. Later that night, Kai suddenly sat up from sleep. He began thinking about the 4 heavenly kings of the demon army. Hearing someone snoring, he realized it was Mare. But if they were going to fight him, they would need to grow stronger first. Still, he shook off the thought since it wasn't something to worry about yet. At Dagger's western border, a bald man shouted in frustration for needing to repeat again. So he stressed that now was the perfect time to attack, with the hero candidates ready. Another man then responded by asking where the offensive should begin. In response, Amelia pointed to the map. She proposed attacking Fort Arliss to reclaim it and push back the enemy. However, Henry thought the sudden shift from defense to offense was too abrupt, despite having hero candidates under him. But Henry just simply stared back in silence, and though Amelia agreed with him. With that, she turned to Shuji and asked whether his body had fully recovered. Shuji confirmed that it had, and he would take up his sword if ordered to fight later. On their way, Henry couldn't believe the plan was set for tomorrow, and how unusually aggressive Amelia was. Shuji then replied, it was the right time to strike as the enemy was still regrouping. Henry then said their power explained the overconfidence, but they still had to follow orders. Realizing this, Murray understood that they had no real choice in the matter. Still, Henry promised support and urged their comrades to rest for the mission's success. Despite his calmness, Shuji felt uneasy but knew there was no turning back. At Fort Arliss's outskirts, Shuji and the group took position and stayed hidden. Suddenly, Rina questioned the timing, since a surprise attack would have made more sense at night. Suddenly, Shuji reminded them their goal was to defeat the enemy leader, while the main force caused a distraction. In response, the class agreed to his plan. Suddenly, a soldier told Henry the main force was ready to begin, and Shuyu's group immediately moved out. Soon after, the knights and soldiers launched their assault and breached the fortress. Spotting them, a demon scolded them for their audacity. In response, Amelia beheaded him and commanded the others to annihilate the rest of the demons. Unbeknownst to them, someone inside the fortress was secretly observing. Meanwhile, Shuji and his team began their infiltration, but the demons quickly noticed them. So Shuji drew his sword and swiftly cut them down. Seeing this, his classmates praised his skill. However, Henry told him to stay alert in case the enemy leader was nearby. Just then, a group of demons blocked their path. Shuji's classmates turned to him for instructions, but Henry stepped in to handle the rear while they advanced. However, Rina had already begun summoning her fire. Following that, she burned the demons ahead of them, while Shuji continued slashing those that remained. Soon the entire class was fighting their way through while advancing. Eventually, they reached a large door. As they opened it, Shuji was stunned by what he saw inside. One of the students then asked what kind of monster they were facing. With that, Shin questioned whether this was their leader. The demon introduced himself as Stone, one of the 4 heavenly kings of the Demon King's army. Rin then was confused by the title, but Murray said it was probably just a name. However, Shuji knew it wasn't, since the pressure Stone gave off was anything but ordinary, since the sacrifice of the main force would mean nothing if they lost here with that. Shuji's group faced off against Stone, as Shuji and Rina remained stunned. The soil beneath them began to shift from the disturbed earth. Monsters emerged seeing this. They realized they were golems, surrounded by his creations. Stone smiled and commanded them to eliminate Shuji's group. Hence, Shuji immediately instructed Yudo to hold the golems back. With that, Yudo responded by launching wind cutters. The sharp gusts of wind struck one golem, slicing off its hand and head. Meanwhile, Shin rushed forward and delivered a punch, then followed it with an explosion spell. As a result, the force shattered the golem's upper body. With that, Shin said, slow-moving golems were no threat, no matter how many, but Stone remained silent. Moments later, the severed parts of the golems began to glow and rise into the air. So Shuji grew confused soon. The broken golems reassembled and stood once more. Seeing this, Shin realized that they were regenerating. Suddenly, a nearby golem raised its arm to strike Shin, but he managed to evade the attack. Meanwhile, his allies began to charge at a golem and began attacking it. As they continued, one successfully severed a golem's hand, but the creature quickly counterattacked with its other arm, so the student froze in shock. But Rin intervened and ordered the golem a halt. As it paused, another student charged with his spear and stabbed its body. After that, he began to mock it. However, the golem raised its fist and punched him directly. Seeing this, Mary quickly used rocks and hurled them at the golem. With that, she successfully defeated it. However, she noticed something. She saw the defeated golem begin to regenerate once more. Hence, Shin concluded that there seemed to be no end to them. Amid the chaos, Yuda recalled a similar scenario from Manga, so he reasoned that eliminating the summoner would be the best course of action. With that, he urged the others to leave the golems to them. Hearing this, Shuji and Shin then turned their attention to Stone. Immediately, Shuji rushed through the swarm of golems. However, Stone thinks that they seem to be underestimating him, so he activated more magic circles. From it, multiple rocks shot upward and then aimed towards Shuji. Shuji attempted to dodge, but the rocks relentlessly pursued him. Surprised by this, he tried to defend himself with his sword as the rocks struck him, so the others watched with concern. Still, Shuji managed to endure the attack and reassured them that he was unharmed. Suddenly, Shin approached Stone from behind. While on it, he thanked Shuji for distracting Stone. With that, he unleashed an explosion. Witnessing this, the others wondered if Shin killed Stone. However, a ground shield had been raised just in time to block the attack. Following that, the shield strikes Shin and renders him unconscious. With that, Stone remarked on the weakness of their efforts. Meanwhile, as Shuji's group fought Stone, Kai reached Neutrat in the sewers. Mayor remarked on Kai's odd choice to infiltrate through such filth. Moreover, the enemy had night vision, and tight security made the front gate useless. After saying that, he motioned for her to climb the ladder. After a while, they emerged above ground. However, Kai immediately sensed something, so they quickly hide behind a barrel. Moments later, 2 demons passed by, and one of them began to complain that he was tired. The blue demon then questioned his attitude, so he lacked motivation hence. The blue demon called him skilled but rude, while the purple one complained about being yelled at. Nevertheless, they both agreed with it. Kai began to remember the witch known as the Princess of the Demons and Governor of Neutra. Mayor confirmed that she was called the Witch of Space and was currently Kai's target, since according to Elba, a space-controlling witch in Neutrat might grant Kai's wish. However, Kai knew approaching her without a plan would likely start a battle. When Mayor asked what to do, he said they needed info first and she had to follow his lead. In response, she agreed without hesitation. Later at the city's market, they observed that the area was filled with demons. Mayor said it was a bit disappointing they lived such normal lives. In response, he said, Living like humans is expected if they have intelligence and can talk. After that, he pointed in a particular direction. In that area, humans were being ordered around by demon. Witnessing this, Mayer was shocked to see humans being treated as slaves. But this reaction made Kai question why she appeared so surprised. After all, she already knew about the enslavement of humans by demons. Mayer acknowledged this, but expressed his belief at the sight of such cruelty. So looking at the way demons tortured humans, she called this madness as Kai turned to her. He suddenly sensed something unusual. A girl had appeared and calmly stated that they were not demons, startled by her sudden presence. He quickly asked when she arrived, and drew his knife after failing to detect her. In response, she asked him not to be on guard, since she had no intention of fighting. Watching her, he realized no one should approach him unnoticed, so he suspected demonic arts. The girl revealed she'd been searching for them. Since they broke her detection barrier, there was no place she could not see. Upon learning this, Kai activated his skilled judgment as he looked at her status. She introduced herself as Sable, the fifth princess of the Veldora demonic kingdom. Hearing that he was surprised to realize who she was, suddenly Sable warned. She called soldiers and asked their purpose, since she doubted they were spies. Kaiso fighting was risky, and chose to negotiate by saying the explanation would take time. But Sable did not mind, since she was only passing time out of boredom. After hearing his story, she learned that his goal was to return to his original world. He confirmed it, saying he'd heard space magic might work, and asked if it was possible. Sable then confirmed that it was, which greatly surprised him. Hence he felt lucky to meet her, since she didn't seem to hate humans like other demons. However, Sable said it required his home world's coordinates, which she didn't know. Seeing his confusion, she clarified that without the coordinates, sending him back was impossible. Upon hearing the explanation, he began to ask if there was a way to locate it. As he listened, his new Eye of Truth skill confirmed she was not lying. She also added, his body had limits because he came under a god's protection, so it was essentially impossible for her demonic arts to breach that protection. Knowing that, he said, it might be the god's will, that they can't return home unless the Demon King is defeated. She then replied uncertainly, and admitted she didn't know its full extent. Realizing this, he accepted there were no shortcuts. Hence, killing the Demon King was his only option. She observed that he seemed to have made up his mind. He then admitted he hoped demonic arts could send him home, but knew it wouldn't be simple. Setting that aside, Mayer wondered why the demon princess was cooperative. As Sable opened a portal, she revealed the kingdom's divided factions and her own motives. Seeing this, they prepared themselves for a possible confrontation. But Sable simply stepped through the portal and warned them that escaping from the city would be difficult. After that, she then vanished. Hence Mir sighed relief after fearing it might have been her end. Meanwhile, Kai realized they stood no chance against Sable's strength. Thus, Mir was grateful Sable wasn't hostile, and Kai agreed, but warned misfortune likely awaited. Suddenly, they heard noises coming from outside the window. Looking out, they heard demons shouting that human spies had infiltrated the city. Mayer then questioned if they had been discovered, but Kai noted that this happened just after the witch had left, so Mayer speculated Sable alerted them. I found it odd that the warning came only after her return. Kaden said they'd never understand the witch's mind, and urged them to leave immediately. Outside, it began to flee across the rooftops. Meanwhile, the demons continued their search and were still unable to locate them. Seeing the enemy's deployment, Kai realized they were on high alert, so they couldn't stay any longer. He then grabbed Mare and pulled her down. At that moment, he sensed a mana nearly matching or exceeding the witch's. Suddenly, another demon appeared. Seeing him, Mare quickly recognized him as Wimberg. Kai then asked her what she said. Kai asked if that was the one she had sworn revenge against. She then confirmed it was Wimber. Kai immediately activated his judgment ability and saw that Wimber was indeed powerful. So he warned Mayer to stay calm, since it would be insane to fight, her knowing that she assured him that she knew. Hence he reminded her to move carefully, since wind magic is good at detection. Unbeknownst to them, a current of wind had already passed near Mayer. Meanwhile, Wimberg asked his subordinates if there were truly intruders. When they confirmed it, he admitted it had only been a hunch at first. What if intruders were present? They would be crushed, he also added. The hero candidates were spotted up front, so they needed to stabilize here. A purple demon then asked if Wimberg should stay in the rear, since he'd do better up front. But Wimberg said he preferred his current post and left the physical work to others. Suddenly, his wind returned to him, and he confirmed the presence of intruders. When asked how he knew, he explained that the wind's flow told him so. He noted that though the intruders moved carefully, they couldn't escape his search. Wind impressed the demon. Said wind detection was a tough skill, and he was always amazed by it. But Wimberg told him to stop the flattery and ordered the pursuit units to be mobilized. After that, Wimberg found it amusing that the witch let the intruders pass, and thought it might get entertaining. Meanwhile, Mayer and Kai continued their escape. Suddenly, Kai signaled Mayer to stop ahead of them. Several demons continued searching the area nearby. Seeing this, Kai realized the demons noticed their movement, but couldn't pinpoint their location. Suddenly, Mayer said, the wind had moved oddly for a while, and the spirits seemed restless. From this, Kai concluded that a wind element search skill was in effect. She then said she could disrupt the unnatural wind, but it would reveal their location. Hence, they chose not to risk it, since being discovered would leave them vulnerable. As the demons kept searching, Kai and Mayer pressed on. Eventually they were found. Realizing this, Mayer apologized. But Kai dismissed it since they could use landmarks to their advantage. With that, he asked her to act as a decoy. But this request took her by surprise. Suddenly, Kai leaped onto the buildings. Seeing this, Mayer informed him that she can't move like that. So Kai reminded her of her revenge and asked what good crying would do. Now, after watching Kai disappear, the demons concluded that they are splitting up. So they also split up to chase after Kai. Finally, gathering her resolve, Mayer took out her staff using this. She summons Salamander while the demons were distracted. She burned them all with fire on the other side. The other demons noticed the fire, so they decided to rush toward the scene. However, Kai emerged from behind them. Following that, he sliced through one demon's neck. Soon one demon paused. When he turned around to check, he saw only the corpses of his comrades. Suddenly a knife was held to his neck. He then called Kai a coward, but his blood was immediately splattered. Meanwhile, Mayer summoned Undine and unleashed a torrent of water against the enemies. As a result, the area was flooded. But while she could slow them down, she knew this alone wouldn't be enough. However, she noticed something unusual. She found that their numbers were thinning. With that, the demons were being silently eliminated underwater. One of the demons then realized something was wrong, but a knife was quickly embedded in his head before he could say more. Upon seeing Kai, he could only call him the Death God, still drenched in blood. Kai retrieved his knife and praised Mayer for being a decent decoy, but she exclaimed that she had almost been killed. Meanwhile, the demons were scolded for failing to catch the intruders. One then apologized and offered to send more men, but Wimberg stopped him. He then stated that doing so would only raise the casualty count. With that, he decided to take action himself. Back on the run, Kai and Mayer were suddenly swept by a strong gust of wind. Due to this, Mayer could feel the powerful mana within it. Suddenly an attack followed, so she quickly summoned the wind spirit and trapped the incoming force inside a whirlwind. Kai recognized the presence of Wimberg. True enough, Wimberg appeared riding the wind toward them. Upon seeing them, he sneered and called them nothing more than rats. On the other hand, Mayer's expression shifted to an intense hatred. Seeing this, Kai asked if she was ready, since her chance for revenge had finally arrived. Without hesitation, she declared that she had been ready for 10 years ago. With that, he reminded her they couldn't afford a long fight with Wimberg and had to defeat him fast. So Maya responded with determination. Following that, she summoned the wind spirit and attacked Wimber, using multiple wind cutters. However, Wimber merely smiled. He then activated a magic circle and mocked her for using wind against the King of Wind. After he enveloped himself with wind, he effortlessly blocked and deflected her attacks. However, Kai noticed that Wimber's own spell was obstructing his vision. But suddenly a wind spike came flying toward him, forcing him to dodge. Seeing his reaction, Wimber claimed that no one could sneak up on him. That's because his wind search allowed him to perceive his surroundings. Hearing this, Kai realized Wimberg's demonic art would detect him, even from a blind spot suddenly. Maya him not to worry, since she would handle it. She then began gathering the surrounding wind with her wand. Soon even Wimberg's wind was being pulled away, which surprised him. Wimberg began to suspect that she had studied his fighting style. Meanwhile, Kai realized Mayer had been carefully planning her revenge all along. Wimberg wondered if Kai thought getting close would guarantee victory. Regardless, Kai charged forward. But unexpectedly, he was unable to reach Wimberg. At that moment, Wimberg reminded him that he had the ability to fly, knowing that Kai remembered that it is a skill similar to Yudo's. However, Mayer instructed him to jump. When he did, her wind spell propelled him into the air. Caught off guard, Wimberg was momentarily vulnerable. Seizing the opportunity, Kai activated his foresight and weakness detection. But just as he identified his weak point, it vanished, so this unexpected change surprised him. Suddenly, Wimberg's help began to glow and a wind blade formed in his hand. He then declared that Kai had forced him to finally draw his sword. Immediately, he launched an attack against Kai, striking from multiple angles at once. Kai attempted to block them, but the assault was too fast, even with his foresight ability activated. Suddenly, Wimberg began to boast that he was the one who taught Hector swordsmanship, but before he could continue, he noticed something behind him, so he quickly retreated, as a massive boulder was hurled in their direction. But the distraction allowed Kai to escape. Now, reunited with Mayor, Wimberg looked at them with contempt. Still, he admitted deflecting the boulder was hard, and Mayor's earth magic made her a serious threat. But this reminded him that the elven villages should already be destroyed. With that in mind, he asked if they were the ones who had killed Hector. Mayer admitted it, and said he should now know how it feels to lose someone. Hearing this, he confirmed that she was the survivor of the elven village. Recalling the past, Mayer said she had spent the last 10 years honing her magic just to kill him. Wimberg then laughed, while calling it one of the most interesting days of his life. But his words puzzled Mayer. As his horn changed, he called the elves' cries pleasant, and was captivated by one desperate plea. So he admitted being moved by the despair and called it beautiful. Hearing this, Mayer's rage boiled, but Kai urged her not to be provoked. He reminded her that he still needed her spells for what was to come. In response, she acknowledged this. Kai then calmly analyzed Wimberg's close and long-range abilities. Since he's eager to win meanwhile, he identified him as a hero candidate. Kai then observed that Wimberg seemed to know quite a lot about them. In response, Wimberg said he memorized top enemies, and Kai's absence proved he was an outsider. Knowing this, he stayed confident, and was certain his superior stats meant no need to rush. Meanwhile, Kai had 3 minutes of foresight left, and if they didn't finish soon, they'd lose just then. Mare asked him to listen to her idea after she whispered it to him. He quickly agreed and reminded her not to drag him down, but she exclaimed that it was supposed to be her line. Observing their exchange, Wimberg asked if their discussion was over. Kai simply responded that they should begin. In response, Wimberg challenged them to come at him. Mira then enveloped Kai in her wind spell. Afterward, she struck the ground with her staff and summoned the earth spirit, Norm using the rocks it raised. She ordered an attack on Wimberg. As the projectiles flew toward him, Wimberg quickly deflected them with a gust of wind and hurled them behind him. Unexpectedly, Kai appeared and forced him to block the sudden strike. However, Mare was not finished. She redirected the rocks behind Wimberg. Wimberg began to prepare a wind wall, but Mayer immediately summoned Sylph and launched a powerful wind attack at him. While he's caught off guard, spotting an opening, Kai moved in for another strike. Wimberg tried to counter with his sword, but Kai's attack landed. Only then did Wimberg realize that Kai had not aimed at his heart, but at his sword, seizing the opportunity. Kai grabbed the sword and withdrew. As Wimberg turned toward the noise behind him, the rocks slammed into him. Despite the hit, he praised them and questioned if they could hurt a high-ranking demon. Seeing his firm gaze, Mare was stunned to see him and scathed, but Kai remained calm, believing everything was going according to plan. Earlier, Mare explained that Wimberg's demonic arts had a weakness. which resist movement, so even without breaking his defenses, she could weaken his magic by disrupting its airflow. Hearing this, Kai realized she had long been planning this and crafted a strategy for revenge. But still not enough. So he agreed and asked her to create an opening. That's because planned to take Wimbersword. Now he finally had it, but Mayer wondered what he'd do next, since Wimberg could still use wind magic. Wimberg then reminded Kai he wasn't a swordsman and asked if stealing his sword would really help him win. Kai simply answered that he did. So Wimberg retaliated with a barrage of wind icicles, but Kai cut them all down. Then he launched his next move and used Wimberg's own sword against him, as Wimberg struggled to defend. He realized he could no longer keep up with Kai's movements. Gradually, Kai pushed him back with ease. Stunned, Wimberg began to lose control. At that moment, Mayer sent another gust of wind to disrupt him, causing him to lose balance in midair. As he fell, he realized Kai was tracking his movement perfectly, and Kai then closed in for the final blow. Desperate, Wimberg tried to counter. Using his horn, he tried to pierce Kai. He was a mere human, but Kai's sword was faster, and he beheaded Wimberg. Kai's mana finally ran out. Meanwhile, Wimberg admitted he never expected to lose, so he questioned how Kai's movements had changed so suddenly. Kai then revealed that his copycat ability let him mimic opponents' skills through his eyes. Earlier, he had been observing and copying Wimberg's swordsmanship, although he was not initially confident using it, hearing it was God-given skill. He acknowledged hero candidates as humanity's trump cards, but Kai revealed he gained the ability by killing Hector. Upon hearing this, Wimberg called Hector a foolish disciple for letting his enemy grow stronger. Later, while resting, Kai looked at Wimberg and reflected on the strength of a heavenly king. Yet 3 more remained, and the Demon King was likely even stronger. On top of that, the Demon King had children like Sable, so Kai realized his current strength still wasn't enough. Suddenly, Mayer approached. She asked if Wimberg was truly dead, and he confirmed it. With that being said, he asked how she felt now that her revenge had been fulfilled, but she said she felt nothing, even after risking her life for this moment. Still, she felt relieved, since even though her family and village were gone, she was finally free from her past. Kai then told her he was glad she's there, since without her wind spells, he would have been lost, but she replied that it should be her line. She said she spent 10 years preparing to kill Wimber, but couldn't have done it alone. So she sincerely thanked him for helping her carry out her revenge. Still, she said she was glad she chose to follow him, since if she'd stayed, she might have broken down and died in vain. But her master knew it. Knowing this, Kai asked what she planned to do next. She admitted she hadn't thought that far yet, and now felt a little lost. With that, he told her to take her time finding her purpose, since elves live long, but she reminded him she was only half elven and wouldn't live as long as Elba. So for now, she intended to stay by his side. Kai then asked if she was sure, since his goal was to kill the Demon King. But Mayer said if killing the Demon King spared others her pain, it was worth it, and even if he insisted he didn't need her, she would still selfishly do it. Kai then said the more clues they had, the better, and reminded her the reinforcements might come. Upon hearing this, she felt happy that he agreed. So she happily followed him as they continued on their way. They were being observed by someone, and it was Sable. After seeing it all, she realized they'd done better than expected after defeating Wimberg. With this development, she knew that it would be easier to make her next move. Meanwhile, Kai and Mayer continued their journey. Eventually, they made it back to Elba. After being relieved, they returned safely. Elba expressed surprise they finished so quickly. Mayer then tried to explain something, but Elba immediately reassured her. She said that she knew she wanted to follow Kai, and urged her to give her best in something else too. Hearing this, Mayer glanced at Kai shyly and agreed. Moving on, Elba asked Kai if he knew the updates from the front lines. She explained that the other hero candidates had been defeated. Shocked that Shuji had lost, he asked who the enemy was. Elba revealed that it was Stone, one of the 4 heavenly kings and the highest executive. Hearing this, Mayer guessed he must be strong, because he was on the same level as Wimberg. Kai then asked if his friends had been killed, but Elba assured him they were alive, though their morale had dropped significantly. After hearing this, Kai decided to observe the situation for a while, with the Demon King as his goal. Weakening their forces and using allies was the best strategy. Suddenly, Mayer asked if the other hero candidates were as strong as him, but Kai wasn't sure, since strength meant nothing if they couldn't use it properly. Meanwhile, at Fort Truss, the injured were being treated inside. Among them was Shuji, who was being healed by Hanno. Despite his condition, he told her not to overdo it, since her healing magic had limits. Hanno agreed, but said healing was all she could offer for now, so she continued treating him. Looking back, they were lucky. Henry's squad arrived in time to let them retreat safely, but now the condition of the group was grim, both physically and mentally. Rina appeared listless while Shin was completely drained. Witnessing this, Shuji clenched his fist and blamed himself for failing to defeat the enemy. At Fort, Arla Stone sat casually at the top of the fortress. From a distance, Kai observed him using his ability. So Mayer was amazed that he could see the enemy from so far away. He then explained that his upgraded judgment ability now allowed long-distance surveying. Hearing that, she remarked that his skill was as convenient as ever. Kai then continued to observe Stone and used advanced judgment. So more detailed information about Stone's skills was revealed, with his ability now at level 4. He gained a major edge in detecting enemy capabilities. He then used weakness detection, but nothing appeared. This showed he was still too weak to spot Stone's flaws. So he responded that it would be easier if Stone had an obvious weak point. He also revealed that Stone master Earth attributes, had solid sword skills, and a defense-boosting ability. Hearing this, Mayer said it was expected of the King of Earth, and noted Earth was usually weak to water. Kai then asked if there's compatibility between elements, and she said it depended on the skills. So she identified which Earth art Stone used. She could find a weakness. Hence, he suggested visiting his classmates and asked what prediction she meant. Meanwhile, at Fort Truss, Shuji stood looking out over the vast land. He then briefly wondered what it would be like if Kai were there, but he quickly pushed the thought aside. With that, he reminded himself not to run away. However, Rina and the others appeared after seeing him troubled. Rina then pointed out he always carried everything alone, but Shuji was just surprised to see them. In response, Yudo asked him not to be sad since the game was not over yet. Mary also supported this by stating that he was not fighting alone. Hearing their words, he asked if they still trusted him. Rina questioned whether he was implying he did not trust them. Before he could answer, she called him silly. Yudo then stepped closer and explained that Rina meant he should rely on them more, knowing that Shuji turned to her for confirmation. Soon he felt embarrassed. After realizing he'd never thought to rely on others, Yudo then said everyone was growing, and he shouldn't carry everything alone. Just then someone arrived looking for Shuji. As they looked up, they saw it was Shin and his group. Shin quickly criticized Shuji's look, but Shuji was surprised that Shin had come as well. Shin then voiced his frustration that their efforts weren't enough. So he asked Shuji to give them the order to crush their enemy. Seeing this, Yudo was thrilled Shin was finally cooperating, but Murray teased him, so he threatened her. Eventually, Shuji agreed to work together with them to defeat Stone. Hearing this, Shin pointed out that Shuji's expression had finally improved. Meanwhile, Rin silently observed them, though glad her classmates were uniting. She knew they still lacked a clear plan. Suddenly, someone greeted her. Surprised, she turned to Kai, who quickly asked her to stay quiet to avoid being noticed. He requested details about the demonic arts used against them. Rin proceeded to tell him everything she knew. From her explanation, Kai learned that Stone had been creating and controlling golems. Rin affirmed this and added that Stone's abilities were centered around that technique. With this, Kai concluded that Meyer's earlier prediction was correct. Rin overheard it and curiously asked if Mayer was a girl's name, but he ignored the question and simply thanked her for the information. Still, she asked if he planned to help them. Looking at them, he said he would. But it's now resolved, and his presence might just stir conflict. For that reason, he would support them from the shadows. As always at Fort Arliss, demons continued to guard the walls and patrol the grounds. Meanwhile, outside the surrounding forest, the hero candidates had gathered. Among them, Mina cheered at Yumi's return. So they're now much more powerful, just like her. Rina was also relieved that Yumi was safe. However, Rina wondered why Yumi suddenly chose to fight. Yumi then explained that she had heard everyone was in trouble. Hearing this, Mina remarked that Yumi was practically a hero, but as she laughed, she began to wonder if Kai would be satisfied with this. 5 days earlier, when Yui returned to her room, she had expressed how exhausted she felt. Unexpectedly, Kai spoke up and noted it had been a while since they met. She then responded in agreement, but she soon sensed something was off and asked how he got in. Additionally, she asked if he was truly the real Kai. In reply, he noted that she was finally thinking clearly again. Still confused, she asked why he had suddenly appeared in her room. He explained Shuji's group was struggling, and they needed her water powers. But she reminded him that she belonged to the non-combatant group. However, when she questioned his certainty, he pointed out that she had always wanted to fight. Moreover, he had already defeated Luna, who traumatized her with Luna gone and her heart healed. Nothing held her back anymore. Besides, this wasn't the time to play a clumsy waitress, but this made her feel embarrassed. Upon hearing this, Yui was taken aback. Moreover, she was surprised that a classmate had actually been paying attention to her. However, Kai quickly clarified that he was simply scouting for a useful pawn. With that, she asked if he still planned to fight despite being a wanted criminal. He then said a criminal couldn't join the Holy Army, and Rina would probably kill him. Knowing that, he said he was acting from the shadows and came to set a pawn. Like her in motion, understanding this, Yumi vowed to do her best and prove that her power was useful. Meanwhile, Rin was observing them from a distance. Kai had explained the plan to her and asked if she had any questions. She responded that got Yumi's role, but doubted if it was enough. He then explained he wasn't the one fighting and trusted everyone had their own strategies. Additionally, he wanted to see their growth and asked Rin to tell Shuji that. In response, she agreed. Back in the present, Rin was called over. After that, Shuji asked her to review the plan one final time. In addition, he stated firmly that they could not afford to lose this time. After Rin agreed, they continued planning together. Observing the mayor asked Kai if his setup was truly alright, or if he had a better plan. But he said growth needs freedom, since though they had power, they were poor at applying it. So he intended to offer only minimal guidance and hints. More importantly, he believed that in a real battle, the ability to decide on one's own actions was crucial. Later, near the fortress entrance, the Holy Kingdom's army stood ready. Amelia then informed them that the time had come and gave the order to charge forward. Hence, the demons mocked the advancing army for not learning from last time. Despite this, Amelia urged her troops to stay strong and clear the way for the hero candidates. In response, the demons prepared to attack soon after. Shuji's group entered the battlefield. As he looked up, Shuji noticed someone watching from within the fort. Recognizing the figure as Stone, he wondered if he had been waiting for them. Meanwhile, they soon reached his door and immediately blasted it open. Shin and the others finally arrived. But something immediately caught their attention. Stone's golems were already waiting. Nevertheless, Shuji shouted for the plan to begin. Meanwhile, from a crack in the ceiling, Kai was eager to see what his classmates could do. After Shuji ordered the others to charge forward, Rina asked Yumi if she was alright. Yumi replied that she was and asked her not to worry. She then began generating water and using her water manipulation, she directed it toward the golems. Stone noticed this and turned his attention to her. Soon the golems were flooded by the water. Taking advantage of this, Shin launched his attack and blasted them with an explosion. Shuji followed by slicing the golems on the other side. Their other classmates also joined the battle. As a result, the golems were quickly destroyed. They collapsed back into the water. Seeing this, Rina and the others felt relieved that their strategy was working. Stone then realized that the enemy had called in a water user for reinforcement among them. Observing the situation, Kai commented that it was just as Mare had predicted. Mare explains that she plans to wet the golem's joints to weaken them, and it worked even better than expected. Shuji then shouted that wet golems couldn't regenerate in order to full attack in agreement. Yudo and the others then charged forward and engaged the golems directly in the water. Hence Stone saw they were targeting his minions and admitted they had skilled strategists this time. In response, he placed his palm on the ground and summoned multiple magic circles. Multiple rocks then emerged from them, as he reminded himself that his golems were merely expendable. This time he intended to show the true power of the earth element. With that thought, he hurled the rocks toward the group. But Murray stepped in and used her telekinesis to control the incoming rocks. Seeing this, Stone was surprised to see his control being overridden. Suddenly, Rin activated her domination skill and cast it on Stone. Confused by this, he quickly realized that it was a restraining type ability. Not long after, Shin appeared above him in midair, so he quickly raised a mud wall in defense. After the explosion, his wall remained standing. Hence, he reminded Shin that such an attack was not enough to break through his defenses. Just then, Shuji activated his instant movement and appeared behind Stone. He swung his sword immediately, but Stone quickly took out his sword. As he blocked the attack, he expressed that this was the best they could do. Mary then used her telekinesis and hurled the rocks back at him. At the same time, Yudo attacked using his wind lances. Stone still claimed that his defense was unbreakable and expanded the rock wall. Yumi then acted quickly. She casted water magic to soak the newly raised wall. So Stone glanced down and realized that the wet ground loses its hardness. Nevertheless, Shuji decided it was time to end everything. Agreeing to this, Shin launched another attack. With their combined assault, Stone was shaken, however. He knew he could withstand this, but if this continued, his defense would eventually crumble. In desperation, he converted all of his defensive mana and turned it into offensive power. At that moment, Kai spotted his opening, so he swiftly threw a knife on Stone's forehead. As a result, Stone finally collapsed. After a moment of shock, Rina and the others shouted in celebration that they had done it. Hence, they announced that Shuji and Shin had defeated Stone. However, Shuji knew they were mistaken. Just like him, Shin was certain that something else had happened. At the last second, suddenly, he noticed a dagger nearby. When he picked it up, he immediately recognized who it belonged to. Looking up, Shuji spotted a gap in the ceiling. With that, he confirmed it was Kai's doing. However, Shin was not pleased. Suddenly, Yudo approached and told them that their plan had succeeded. So Shuji responded with a cheerful confirmation. But deep down, he knew they had made it this far because of Yumi. Still, he couldn't forget that in the final moments, Stone had released a tremendous amount of mana. But method alone would not have been enough. So Kai intervened just then. Mary noticed his sad expression, but reminded him that this was a time to celebrate. He then tried to explain the truth, but she said she would listen later. For now, she reminded him that they had just defeated one of the heavenly kings. So that feat was enough after being pushed. Shuji was surrounded by congratulations. Though stunned at first, he eventually smiled at them. Meanwhile, Shin was still furious. His friends then approached and praised him. Shin declared it wasn't him who landed the final blow. Hearing this, they quickly apologized. One of them then mentioned that he understood why Shin was upset. When Shin asked if he saw it, he replied yes, since he was nearby. Hence, he expressed that Kai might have landed the final hit, but it was Shin and Shuji who pushed Stone to the edge. Later outside, Shuji caught his breath and shouted that they had slain Stone. Holding up Stone's head, he ordered the remaining enemies to surrender. Upon hearing this, the demons were too stunned to move. At that moment, Amelia declared that it was their victory. Hearing this, Henry was relieved that they had truly done it. As the cheer continued outside, suddenly Mayer noted that the number of soldiers on both sides was still roughly equal. In response, Hai explained that the demon army was led by someone with high charisma. So once that leader was defeated, the army could no longer offer proper resistance. So Kai explained it was a built-in weakness of the demon army. However, she began to ask if it was truly all right, and this made him confused. So she explained that Kai killed Stone, despite just wanting to help them grow. Kai admitted he sensed deadly intent from Stone and didn't want them to die before growing. Besides, protecting others was part of an assassin's duty, and he hoped they'd understand. Hearing this, Mayer thought he was being unexpectedly overprotective. Moving on, he began asking why she still hadn't called him by his name. In response, she quickly explained that she wasn't sure how to address him. After hesitating, she asked for permission to call him by name, to which he agreed, seeing her blush. He asked why, but she brushed it off as nothing. Shifting his thoughts, Kai reflected that they had managed to eliminate 2 of the heavenly kings. But the demon king's descendants were as strong as Sable, and he knew stronger foes still lurked. Now it's clear that his journey to defeat the demon king was far from over. Meanwhile, a man then noted her unbroken spirit, but said he's certain she could no longer fight. He then ordered a demon to announce the princess's capture and the fall of the Beastman Federation. 1 week after Stone was killed, the atmosphere in the kingdom brightened. Thanks to this victory, the morale of the knights was soaring. Additionally, the hero's fame was rising and became a symbol of hope. At the palace, the king commended Shuji for successfully subjugating Stone, with Shuji kneeling before him. The king granted him the title of Lord as a knight, and Shuji accepted afterwards. Shuji couldn't help but express how exhausting the entire experience had been. Mary teased him for getting nervous, prompting him to ask what she thought of him. Suddenly, Amelia joked that if he was tired already, he must be getting old. However, Henry said Shuji wasn't trained like them, but did well for his first time. Shuji then said he felt desperate, since any rudeness to the king could have ended badly. However, Henry thought it was better than facing undue pressure in state affairs. As a newly promoted knight, Shuji would face such duties and nobility was harder than he thought, but Henry told him not to worry too much. Amelia then explained the church held power, and Shuji's title came from a pope. Hearing the knights serve the church, Shuji questioned if his title truly mattered. Henry then asked if he wanted to grasp the messy politics, and Shuji quickly declined. Even so, Henry reminded him authority comes with responsibility, now that he's one of them. Meanwhile, outside, Kai found out that Shuji had become a captain. Rin confirmed it and explained that Shuji had requested a position with authority. Mary then thought it was a good thing, even though she didn't completely understand. However, Kai suspected they made Shuji a symbol to show the hero candidates were under their control. Upon hearing this, Mayor began to wonder if it was really good news. Kai then said they'd return after defeating the Demon King, and the kingdom was just using them for this. Since in the end, the kingdom treated them as pawns, and it's the same as Luna. In response, Rin assured him that they would be more careful, and then asked about the girl beside him. Kai introduced her as Mayor, a half-elf spellcaster, and Mayor politely greeted Rin. After returning the greeting, Rin quickly clarified that she was asking who Mayor was to him, and replied that she was his friend. However, Kai denied this, prompting Rin to call him horrible. Even so, Kai introduced Rin as his collaborator, which made her blush. Mayor then asked if they had been this close in their previous world, but Kai said he never spoke to Rin back then, which Rin confirmed, setting that aside. Kai asked about their demon subjugation mission, and Rin confirmed it. So he said he'd act from the shadows again, and she'd relay messages to their classmates. However, Rin suggested that he bring her along upon hearing her request to move with him. Kai paused to think as the girls waited for his answer. He finally said that he refused, since he had no way to contact the others. Furthermore, they were very hostile toward him, so her position was important. After hearing this, Rin accepted that it couldn't be helped. Despite that, hearing this, she asked if he meant to strengthen everyone, and he said the demon army was too strong for him. So, although he and Mare had managed to defeat one of the heavenly kings, it had been a narrow victory. But Rin was shocked to hear that the two of them had defeated. Then, explained that their battle with Wimberg had been extremely close. Knowing this, Rin realized their group barely matched Stone. Yet Kai and Mayor defeated another heavenly king. Moreover, she saw Mayor wasn't ordinary, and Kai's trust and her made Rin feel more inadequate. So compared to Mayor, she felt useless during the fight against Stone. Suddenly, Kai told her some demons were stronger than the heavenly kings, so the mission is impossible with their current strength. With that, he asked Rin to watch their classmates and the kingdom, since he'd stay in touch. Hearing this, she responded that she understood. As he was leaving, he asked her to tell Shuji that he was doing his part in the effort to defeat the Demon King. After that, Mare followed him and also bid Rin farewell. After saying goodbye, Rin felt frustrated by her weakness and decided to also grow stronger. After defeating Stone, the Holy Army began a large-scale invasion. Thanks to the hero's core, the morale of the army remained high, which allowed them to push back the front lines. As a result, the Holy Army managed to conquer numerous forts around Mount Uragano, and the city of Nutra was liberated. But the success was due to Wimberg's death, who handled the demon army's logistics. However, the Holy Army was unaware of the critical details. At a victory celebration, Yudo began chugging his drinks. He remarked that a victory banquet was enjoyable, but Murray questioned why he was drinking alcohol normally, and reminded him that they would eventually return home. With that, she took his drink and walked away. Witnessing this, Shuji and the others laughed. Suddenly, Rina suggested that Murray should loosen up, at least for today. But Murray scolded her as well after seeing her with a glass of wine. However, Rina clarified it was just juice. But Shuji didn't believe her. At that moment, Shuji overheard others talking about how smooth their mission was. They then wondered if losing one heavenly king had really thrown the demon army into chaos. Hearing this, Shuji also thinks that the demon seemed to be too fragile. He then tells them that they all suspected a trap at first, but it wasn't. However, Rina thinks Shuji was just too cautious, since the demon army are just a bunch of disorganized fools. But this made Shuji speculate that Kai might be operating behind the scenes. However, Rina did not believe that Kai could accomplish something of that scale. Hence, Rin confirmed that Shuji was correct and revealed that it was Kai. Hearing this, the others were visibly surprised. Rin then clarified that Kai was the one who defeated Wimberg, and the current weakness in enemy defenses was due to his actions. In response, her classmate asks whether Kai really defeated Wimberg alone. Meanwhile, Yudo added that Kai was probably acting in the shadow like a monster. Still, Rina thought it was all lies, so she called over Shin for his opinion. But Shin asked her why instead. However, he suddenly recalled the time he had discovered Kai's dagger, so he responded that he didn't care, which made Rina question his attitude. Suddenly, Mary declared that she would not forgive Kai, even if the story was true. Rina then agreed with her sentiment. But Shuji proceeded to ask Rin for Kai's whereabouts. Rin then admitted she didn't. But Kai was likely using his own method to kill the Demon King. Meanwhile, in the demon territory, Kai was facing several ogres. One of them attacked, so he was forced to dodge quickly. However, another ogre appeared in front of him. In response, he threw mud at it, so the ogre was temporarily blinded. After that, he attempted to use Thunder Shock, but it suddenly stopped, much to his surprise, just as an ogre was about to land a blow. The group of enemies was suddenly engulfed in flames, caused by salamander magic. With that, the ogres were reduced to ashes immediately. Kai warned Mare not to interfere unnecessarily, but she replied that she wouldn't have stepped in. He couldn't even cast basic magic. With that, Mare noted his thunder magic was rare and hard to control, so using it even briefly was impressive. But if he had a more common element like his classmates, magic would be easier for him. Kai then said Thunder Shock worked in training, so he wondered why it failed in battle. In response, she said his distraction broke his focus, and that casting needs a clear mental image. Moreover, magic isn't ideal for close combat, but he said he had to use it up close or it'd be pointless. She then reiterated that it was difficult, and asked why he was only now learning how to use magic properly. Kai responded that he needed new power to defeat the Demon King, though he disliked it still. Hearing this, she expressed pride in at least having that much to offer. Kai remarked that he had new training targets,